Thank you, Lord, for all you have done. If I don't thank you, I will be so ungrateful. Thank you, Jesus. Holy Kanyo. Tato. Hey, Tato. 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 Kanyo Warrior. Apart from you, there is no other God. Every other God is so counterfeit. I try to do feel me. I try every other God, and they all let me down. They all say I should give something for something. Let me up on the sacrifice before they can bless me. Or say submit you. You never asked me for a dime. You keep on showering your blessings all over me. If I don't curse you, if I don't worship you, what's that what to be? You can't make that up Tato. Hey, Tato. 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 Kaya Warrior. Tato. Hey, Tato. 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 Kaya Warrior. You are my light. You are my light. Daddy, you uphold my trust. You are my strong. You are my defender. You are my provider. Everything in you. If I don't praise you, who else would I praise? If I don't worship you, who else would I worship? Hey, what's the matter, babe? You are let me talk about Tato, 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 tato. Yes, I want my boy, if I don't praise you, who else would I praise? If I don't worship you, who else would I worship? Hey, what's the matter, babe? You can't let me talk about Tato, 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 tato. Yes, I want my boy, Tato, Tato, yes, Tato, I can compare to you, Tato, you want a great God, Tato, I want to welcome our viewers and listeners across the globe. Thank you for sharing the first date of the month of November. Today is the first. Here, Vamafonso and Sot of the Liberia Public Radio 10 Lpr-Tv. I want to welcome all of my viewers and listeners across the globe. Thank you for being part of today's program here. Kind of a little bit tough, especially when you know someone personally. There's a long relationship with the late Minister of Popular Works, the Honorable Mambuto Vlad. He served also as the former senator of Sino County, Republic of Liberia, prior to his appointment as minister. He's a career person. He's an engineer by profession. He's a lawyer. He was a student activist. He was a student leader. He formerly served as deputy managing director of the Liberia Petroleum Corporation, formerly LPRC. He served as deputy managing director for technical services at the Liberia Water and Sewer Corporation. The relationship with Comrade Nyimpa Maseke as far back in the 80s when he graduated from the Bishop Julie High School in Zwedu and moved to Monrovia. It's a long time, and I was Since his demise, and even before he got sick, not information that are very, very close to the family. He and I slept in the same bed, when he moved to Morovia, and he's one of those to get me to be what I am today in terms of getting used to be a part. There will be a special program, but it will be very unjust. And I made this full disclosure in the past when I on most of my podcasts. I, we were in constant contact with family members, people by his bedside. And it is shocking to see what is happening in Liberia. Uh, Nyepant, very bright, smart student, no question about that. For those that get to know him, and we will have a program here at some point in time for people that really knows who the late Mambutu Nyepant was in terms of things that he strongly believes in, even up to his demise. But also, he's one of my mentors among men and former Minister Kite, Gerald Amos Clay Talley, who was then Deputy Managing Director for Administration at the time, Liberia Water and Sewer Corporation. All of these people, they are people that have Chairman Emeritus Gerald Badi based in Canada. They are people that we try to hang off with to make sure in order to get us to be where we are. It's good to be friends with a lot of people. But after his appointment, I was privileged to have an exclusive with the late Minister of Popular Works of the Republic of Liberia. Very shortly, my guest, Martin Kollie, going to be joining me and team of analysts of the Liberia Public Radio. We're going to dive into some of these consequentials and hardcore issues that are affecting our country. I've spoken with the families in Liberia. Here, daughter is here. And it's so tough, all of us. One of the reasons I was one of those that got that call, he actually passed early Friday morning, the attempt around 10 to 11 o'clock. When our phone calls came from Ghana that the late minister, Mambutu Nyepant, has fallen to the cool hands of death. And so forth, so on. And since then, there have been a lot of conversations on the social media where relative to what happens, and people deserve the right to know what has happened as well. But I'm going to be playing you my interaction a little bit while we try to pose other things together and perhaps to bring other folks that better knows him and interact with him here at some point in time here on the Liberia Popular Radio. I am Afonso Z, and so stay tuned here. This is not, I do not really find pleasure having this sort of conversation here with somebody that you really, really know well. Stay tuned. I will be right back. Benedict, whatever you are, thank you for following up. Okay, well, there you have it, the introduction here. But let us just do a little bit of housekeeping. We get a lot to do here. The name Mambutu for me is not a strange name here, starting as far back as 83 here. And that's something here, perhaps this is not meant to bring any sort of embarrassment, but I can remember I was asked to do a speech, and you happens to be one of my mentors. You asked me what I really wanted to write about. And I said, education. You told me to start. I was wondering, I needed help from this guy here who I know, who was an activist, involved in the politics of the University of Liberia. So I was kind of like stranded. I needed help, and this guy asking me here. But I've got to realize now, and that was a sort of preparation that you were making me to empower me, not just only to when you are there and Ava. This is something I really want to acknowledge. And here we are today here. Let me just ask you this question. Do you ever had a thought that Alfonso So, your own Alfonso So will sit having this sort of dialogue on the international platform? Was that something that you thought would happen?
Honestly, Alfonso, a lot of transformation has happened in your own life. You have progressed very rapidly, and I'm proud that you have made so much progress. And that is why when you requested for this interview, I thought that it would be a moment for us to reflect on our good old days, and at the same time, in our different respective portfolios, have an opportunity to discuss our country and provide an opportunity for all of our people, especially those of you in the diaspora, to have an understanding of what is happening back home, and also to make your own suggestions and their own inputs as to how we can lift Mama Liberia to nobler heights. And so for me, one did not think at the time when we were together that you'd be so far, far away, and I will also be so far, far away, but through technology, we will be holding this kind of interview. Again, I'm glad that we are doing it, and so let's do it for the benefit of our people.
Okay, great. All right, that's the voice of Honorable Mambutu Vla Nyimpan, is the current Minister of Public Works, Republic of Liberia, is currently joining me this evening from the nation's capital of Monrovia. That's part of a constraint happening here because I was just talking with our correspondent, and we also hear that he in fact en route from Grand Cape County. So it seems to be this road conditions is a very serious business that the President of the Republic of Liberia has entrusted into your hands here. You formerly served as a senior senator of Sando County, as you alluded to, for 9 consecutive years. Now you are transitioned into a different portfolio, a ministerial portfolio. What is the difference in that, first of all?
Firstly, as senator, I serve in the legislative branch of our government. A branch that is basically responsible for lawmaking, keeping oversight over the various functionaries of government, and at the same time representing your constituency. The position which I occupy right now, I am in the executive branch of government, not a separate and distinct branch of our government. And in this current portfolio, we are responsible to execute and implement. Unlike the legislature, where we're just making laws and the enforcement and execution of those laws and policies were left with the executive. So if you ask me, in terms of what would be a major difference between the two, at least in this portfolio, we have an opportunity to go out directly and implement. So it's not that one has to deliver, especially in the midst of high expectations.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. That's the voice of Minister Nyimpan from the nation's capital of Monrovia here. Quickly here, I hate to do backtracking, but to also keep history into perspective and understanding why. Understanding you when you are at the House, Senate, you serve as the chairman standing committee on public works. Is that correct, Mr. Honorable Minister?
Oh yes, for 6 years at the Liberian Senate Committee on Public Works, and for 3 to 4 years I served as representative of the Liberian Senate to the ECOWAS Parliament in Abuja. So yes, you are correct.
Okay. So let's do a little bit here. What was left undone, as far as you can remember, at the time in the process as being a lawmaker implementing the laws yet? What were some of the biggest things that you can get on top of your head that you achieve, and perhaps what's incompleted and you hope to see it happening?
Well, what I can certainly say is that I had my opportunity to serve in the Liberian Senate. I believe I served to the best of my ability. We did what we could have done under the circumstances and at the time. And so I wouldn't say that there are things that are left undone that I would like to see being implemented. I hope that my successor and those who are now in the Liberian Senate will be continuing the work of that noble institution representing the people of Sino. But in my current portfolio, there are so many things to to do. And so for the time being, I'd like to concentrate on what I'm doing now and reminiscing on the past, especially my work in the legislature, is not high on my agenda right now. My agenda is basically filled with trying to deliver on the commitments, on the promises that were made by His Excellency the President, and to work consistent with the mandate of the Ministry of Public Works. You know, Afonso, this government, our President has said on countless occasions that infrastructure development, especially road connectivity, is the priority. In fact, is the first priority of this administration. And so with this kind of commitment, we have enormous responsibilities. You know, the road network of our country, you to some extent, you should be familiar with the road network. It's in a terrible state.
Okay, I had to interrupt. We will be going into some of the details on that here, but let me just ask you here.
Very well.
What was the feelings? Take me into your thought process at the time when the official announcement was made by the President of the Republic of Liberia, topping Honorable Mambutu Vlad Nyimpa as the Minister of Public Works. What was your initial instinct that came to place?
Oh, the first thing that came to my mind was that Mr. President has reposed a lot of confidence in me to deliver in this capacity, especially considering the fact that throughout the entire campaign, Mr. President's message to the people of Liberia was that of roads, roads, and roads. And so when I was named by him as Minister of Public Works, I thought that an opportunity had come for me to practicalize what I've learned in school, for me to be able to help Mr. President impacting the lives of the people of this country and in moving our country forward, especially in the area of development that has been lacking for so many years. And so I took the challenge, accepted it, like I said, as an opportunity to serve my people and my country. And this is a challenge that I'm now upholding.
All right, folks, we'll be taking calls. We're going to be having a post discussion here, and the reason this is a decision, even though the minister asked that he will run, but at a later date we're going to do that because we want to get a sense of what is happening at the Ministry of Public Works, Republic of Liberia, and so to fall in the opportunity, first of all, let us know insight, and in subsequent time to conduct, it will be conducted as a town hall star meeting. But right after that, we're going to have a post discussion on this here. Okay, let us just get to the issue here on ground. Our understanding, the Ministry of Public Works, Ministry of Rural Development and Public Works, and they have been condensed together as the Ministry of Public Works, which you are the Chief Executive Officer there. Is that information, is that true, Honorable Minister?
Well, yes, the information is accurate, and in fact, I was chair of the Senate committee in the legislature when the amalgamation was done. That is the amalgamation of the Ministry of Rural Development and that of the Ministry of Public Works. So yes, that is true. Today we now have the Ministry of Public Works with the Ministry of Agriculture forming an integral part. I mean, the Ministry of Rural Development forming an integral part of the Ministry of Public Works. And so we have a Deputy Minister for Rural Development at the Ministry of Public Works, and who is directly responsible for those activities that were being handled by the Ministry of Rural Development. So yes, you are correct.
Okay, you are engineer by profession, at the same time a lawyer here. So this puts you in a very kind of comfortable position in my own interpretation. That I don't know whether that's it, but I surmise that is the reason. Now, Honorable Minister, the task on hand, there is no country on planet Earth that can build its economic growth without good connectivities in terms of road connection. If I get on top of my head, pretty close to 10 to 11,000 kilometers of roads should be All right, well, folks, that was my interaction with the late Minister of Popular Works, who is a brother. There's a long-term relationship with Mambutu Vlad, the late Mambutu Vlad. We're going to find time to bring those who best interacted with him from his school days, work site, and other places. But in the meantime, happening now, my special guest has joined me here. He's activist and a Liberian activist. He has been having a very strong voice in Liberia, outside of Liberia. I interviewed him before in the past during his activism at the University of Liberia. Despite he's been out of the country, has never in any way kept him quiet. He's joining me here live. We're going to be taking a parade on a wide range of issues confronting Liberia and the security of our country. I'm Afonso Z, and so what a tough day here, but we want to do the best we can to get this conversation going. Stay tuned. I will be right back. Okay, folks, again, to welcome time check. For those of you who have not made adjustment to your time, don't look at the clock on your computer or your stove or on the wall. Look at your time on your cell phone. There's a change in time. Barely 2 days to go to a major presidential runoff yet here in the USA, monitoring what is unfolding. Is the primary in Liberia is prominent as well. Let me bring in to Martin K. and Kollie. Is Liberian activist currently based in exile. Since his departure from Liberia, Liberia Public Radio will be the very first time speaking to him. Let me just bring in, standing by here, joining me here this afternoon. Here we go. Activist Martin K. and Kollie, Liberians, emergent economist, is joining me this afternoon. My end here is 1:16 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Mr. Kollie, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, Mr. Afonso Z. So it is my pleasure once more to join you on this widely monitored platform. I just want to appreciate you and your team for the great work you continue to do in the interest of Mama Liberia. History shall remain calm to your continuous commitment and contribution to nationhood. I also want to extend my greetings to all Liberians monitoring, whether you are in Liberia or out of Liberia. I want to salute the resilience, tenacity, and patriotism of the Liberian people during these very difficult and troubling times. Thank you very much, Mr. Zion, for inviting me on this platform.
Okay, all right. Again, thank you so much. I know you're such a basic guy, but notwithstanding, you were able to allot a time for us to have this conversation. And that's one of the things that people who limit themselves appearing on certain platforms question their authenticity and what actually it brings to the forum. I was privileged to have an interview before. Let's do a little bit backtracking. You are a big god of history. Before we start this conversation, I interviewed you before when you were in the vanguard of championing the cause of things that you strongly disagree with in what was happening in government and in other systems. Now you are outside of the system. So let's take a little bit of reflections of where you came from to be where you are. Do you sometimes reflect on some of the things that you were actively involved in at the time at the University of Liberia?
Hello?
Yeah, are you there, Martin?
Disruption, 1 minute.
Yeah, okay. I've been joined by my colleagues also from Liberia. Our own Mike Dan.
Having some technical problem.
Okay, I don't know why they always like to bark into your... Okay, all right, Martin going to be joining us here. Let me bring in our own Mike Dan is standing by at LPR Studios inside Liberia, to Morovia. Mike, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. So, and how is the rest of the East Coast this afternoon from your end? The evening is quite much interesting today, first Sunday, and people are about on their normal businesses here. As usual, Liberia is predominantly a Christian faith-based people. So today, people went to their various churches, their various places of worship, and
Okay.
so they are on their normal businesses. Things are quite normal as usual here.
Okay. All right. Let me see here. My guest is here already here. When this guy is on, then people all over Facebook. This is an international cable wire. We discuss issues here. Mr. Kollie, are you there? Martin, are you by
Yeah,
me?
I'm here. Sorry for the interruption due to circumstances beyond my
Yeah.
control.
Okay. Yeah.
Of late I've been having some technical issues,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
I think
That's what
that issue is
happens.
resolved now. So you
Okay.
asked
They
me the
don't want
question
to.
before I could go off.
Yeah. Yeah. I just wanted to take a little bit back. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have been on this journey for almost 15 years, and you are a living witness to this. I didn't start what I'm doing today. Even under the administration of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, those who are in power today, they were advocated for by some of us, and they know very well about what we did, our role, our contribution to the democratization process of the country, and we remain committed. What was wrong yesterday, Mr. Seal or Mr. Zion, is wrong today. And we continue to champion the cause of the common people. So Martin Kollie has been on this journey for more than a decade. Those who don't know me, they tend to peddle lies and falsehood about my characteristic or my character. So I thought not to give a lot of people credence, especially pro-regime elements who are committed to spewing out verbiages and invective, but to focus on the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is Liberia. In these very difficult times, Mr. So or Mr. Zion, do you expect us to remain silent? No, silence is not an option. So yes, I started from the University of Liberia. I held a lot of protests under Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. I went to jail. I got brutalized, almost killed in Sino County when I led the popular July 26 protests. I led the 16 billion protest under George Weah. I also led the Access Declaration protest under George Weah. I was one of the leading mobilizers and forces during the June 7 protests. So I have been involved with a lot, and what I do is not for self, it's for the nation, it's for our people. Liberia is 173 years of age. We cannot continue to move backward whilst our age continues to increase. The situation, the appalling situation of our people continues to provoke my resolve in pursuit of social justice, economic freedom, and liberty. So again, it is an opportunity to join you for the second time on this platform to talk about some of the issues.
Okay. And I will be giving my colleague Mike Dan is LPR Angot, and man on ground in Morovia is also joining this talking point here. Thank you so much here. I don't mean to really sign painful here, but you always make reflection in the past, and that's what history is all about. I followed deeply and were able to interview some of your colleagues at the time. Your graduation was allegedly or was interrupted by whom and who led that interruption. And here you are in exile. I intend not to ask where you are. Obviously, I know better. I know what it means when people leave, and that's not what I'm going to go to. But if you were to take a deep breath, right, the manner in which your departure from the country, what does that suggest to you, Kollie?
Quite frankly, what comes to mind when I begin to reflect on my most recent past is that what is happening in Liberia now was predicted. Some of us predicted what is happening in Liberia during the 2017 general and presidential elections. We knew that this would have been the ultimate end: dictatorship, repression, subjugation, marginalization, corruption, ethnicity, sectarianism. We knew in 2017. I was from radio station to radio station in Monrovia and across the country, warning the Liberian people not to consider Mr. Weah as head of state because he was the most dangerous option to have considered. The Liberian people could not listen. Here we are today. Another journalist just fled into exile, Julius Jason of the Pirate newspaper. Another journalist just died after Zeno Miller was brutalized severely by armed police. You know, so what is happening in Liberia is not strange to some of us, Mr. Zion. We projected this dead end on a footballing president, George Manuel Weah. How could Liberians give our country to a man who does not understand the essence, the significance, the efficacy of leadership and governance? How could we entrust our lives, the lives of 5 million people? How could we have entrusted this country with George Manuel Weah? Expecting result? No. So I just don't want to talk about how I fled the country, but it was a dangerous journey. It was a dangerous journey. I fled that country midnight. During the course of my graduation, everything was disrupted. I planned a brief get-together, a party with my friends. Everything was disrupted. I didn't have time to even meet most of my friends who came to celebrate with me.
Martin, one may say, this is Mike Down from Liberia Public Radio here in Monrovia from our main studio. One may say you were not actually being pursued. You're just trying to blow horn for yourself. This is what many have been saying back home. How serious was the case by you in which that led you to exile?
And if I could add,
thank you, Mark.
Yeah, if I could add, also you will buck it up because all of them there's some sort of correlation here. Is your action is it being politically motivated? If your advocacy is it being driven by opposition? Those are legitimate questions other people ask, and you know, LPR, we can ask all of these sort of questions just to get it from the house.
Oh yeah, Mr. Zion, sure. And quite frankly, Mark and Mr. Zion, I welcome any question. This is a frank conversation. We need to be honest with ourselves and the Liberian people. So whenever I have an opportunity to interface with critical journalists and commentators like you, I usually say nothing but the truth. I believe in truth-telling and facts. That's why the regime is afraid. That's why the regime does not feel comfortable with the presence of activist Martin K. and Kollie. So let me make it clear for the record. I am not a member of any political party. I am not a member of the ANC. I have never been a member of the ANC. I am not a member of the Liberty Party. I have never been a member of the Liberty Party. I am not a member of the Unity Party. I have never been a member of the Unity Party. Neither am I a member of the ALP. I have never been a member of the ALP. When CDC was in opposition yesterday, Mr. Zion and Mark, most of you follow my activities. Whilst I led thousands and thousands of students and youth across the country at the University of Liberia, I was very critical of past regimes, especially the regime of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. For 12 years, we stood up to the leadership of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, identifying the flaws and odds that undermine the values and tenets of democracy. And we still remain unbending in this pursuit. When CDC was in opposition, a lot of them hailed Martin Kollie, they celebrated Martin Kollie as a hero because I was challenging the SSS and ministers of the unit.
But they were thinking that you were to join the current
party-led government. And today they are in power. I'm doing the very same thing. They yell all day, Martin Kollie. That's falsehood. That's falsehood, Mark and Mr. Zion. That's falsehood. You know, how can an independent activist, the Martin Kollie, be supported by opposition political parties? I challenge anybody in the opposition to say he or she is supporting Martin Kollie. Since I came to exile, A single politician has not called me. I'm not even expecting their call. I do not even want their call, because what I do is out of conviction and love for country. I do not do this to appease any politician. I do not do this to satisfy any political party. I do not do this to honor the request or insatiable intent of anyone. I do this for the sake of the Liberian people. I have taken risks with my life. I have taken risks with the lives of my family members, and everybody knows this. I have exposed the government, and everybody is aware about my role in the democratic framework or architecture of the country. So do not be deceived. Do not be misled that Martin Kollie is being sponsored or supported by any one group of politicians. I am just calling for a paradigm shift in the democratic process of our country. Mr. Weah is not leading the country well. The indicators can prove. I have been providing some of these empirics and data to prove my points. I don't just talk. When I talk, I provide proof. I just published something not too long, 30 minutes ago, about the armed forces of Liberia. I provided facts.
Yeah.
I just published something again about their fake airline, Gold Star Airline. I provided facts. Everything I have done, everything I have written, everything I have spoken about, I provide facts to authenticate, to prove my point. And the Liberian people know this very well. And they understand my role in history.
Okay, so let me ask you, Mr. Kollie. There are tons of political parties in Liberia. I need not to tell you all of that. And I'm wondering, I'm pondering here, and there has been the $1 million question here. Why is Martin Kollie not an associate with any of these political institutions? Is there any tangible reason you wish to share with us here today? Do you see them, in fact, as some opposition political parties in Liberia?
I want to be very frank with you, Mr. Zion and Mark. You know, both of you are our good friends, and you've been doing a great job, which we must appreciate. Let me be bold for the record, and let Liberians in the diaspora and in Liberia know this today. What we have in Liberia is a bastardized political system. Our political system in Liberia is polarized, it's commercialized, it's monetized. Okay. For example, the CDC is all about George Weah. The Unity Party is all about Joseph Waka. The ANC is all about Alexander Cummings. The ALP is all about Bernard Yuri. The Liberty Party is all about Yombli Kanga. So the entire system is individualized and not institutionalized. And
Martin, one may say those individual names that you are calling, they are the faces of the respective political parties. So, I mean, people always talk about them.
But they are not only the faces of their political parties, but decision-making revolves around them.
Okay.
If you want to talk about democracy, if we are discussing the subject democracy is about the majority and not a few group of elites. So political institutions in Liberia are polarized due to the monetization of our democracy. The highest bidder is the decision maker. That has been the trend. Go to other countries. Political parties revolve around the people and not individuals. So one of the reasons why I don't want to join any political party is because these institutions are not driven by the people. The people should be driving these institutions and not a few individuals. That's the first point I want to make. Number two, when you talk about party politics in Liberia, have you seen of late how people are just deflecting from one party to another? Do you think it's on the basis of conviction? Do you think it's on the basis of honesty? Do you think it's on the basis of transparency, openness? No. People are deflecting from one political party to another because of self-interest. And this is one of the factors that is affecting political parties in Liberia. It's not about greed. It's not about self-interest and not the people's interest. And this is the fundamental difference I have.
So, Martin, politics, of course, it's always based on interest. So when you say that they are only seeking their own interest, I mean, one may say it's politics. So they usually think about that.
Mike, this is the mistake we usually make. This is the mistake we usually make when we say politics is all about interest. We need to be emphatic when we consider the word interest. Whose interest, Mark? Whose interest? interest? Your interest or the people's interest? So most times when I hear people talking politics, it's all about interest. Whose interest? In Liberia, it is their interest and not the people's interest. In my opinion, it should be about the people's interest. So the question we forget to ask, usually, especially journalists, whose interest? When we talk politics, whose interest it is? Your interest or the nation's interest? Your interest or the people's interest? And I believe.
No, go ahead.
I believe Mark and Zio, it should be about the national interest. Martin Kollie can only join a political party if that political party espouses national interest and not self-interest. There is a dichotomy, or there is a line of delineation between personal interest and national interest. My focus is national interest. Everything I have done, everything I will ever do, will focus on the national interest, because the national interest is the interest of the masses. The national interest is the interest of the republic. Until we can begin to shift from self-interest to national interest, Liberia reaches a dead end. We are 173 years old. I challenge anybody, any politician, to quantify our achievement in the context of our age. Nobody will do. Nobody dare to do. The realities are clear, Mark. I see you laughing, Mark, but I'm very bored here. Nobody will tell you, oh, these are things we have achieved after 173 years as a result of national leadership.
Okay, let me come in here a little bit. And honestly, this has been my talking point here. From time to time, the records are there. As a matter of fact, the opposition, the opposition, the ruling party, these people, honestly, I see them as just mere social club, because the manner in which they conduct themselves, the opposition is not doing anything different from that of, and that's one of the reasons, in as much as I disagree with some of his talking points, especially at the time he was at the University of Liberia, but he's one of those who also critically frowns on the opposition when they are doing this thing here. So, Mr. Kollie, let me ask you, because I have not seen a strategic and robust plan on the part of the opposition to position herself as an alternative to what is ongoing in the country. You can't have a political party, you can't have a leader who is unwilling to take charge, who is unwilling to serve as the front bearer here. Let me ask you a question here. We have a consequential time ahead. That is the May 10 and subsequently the presidential election. The summary disappearing, the killings of people, somehow seems to be a breakdown of law and order in a sovereign nation here. But what caught my attention too, the AFL chief of staff, that is the armed forces of Liberia, frowned on the budget being allotted to that institution, which is a major component for the security of the state. But you know, they are not the first to come in line when it comes to security, but the AFL has to be equipped. And when the AFL is equipped, it tells me that the national police and all of that. Can we, in the absence of making logistic available to these paramilitary institutions for the security of the state, can we then kind of tone it down? Can we say, well, are they not responsible? What is lacking in government to see that the armed forces of Liberia? I've talked to people. They told me there's one police car in Mount Gibby, and sometimes there is no gas. So not to mention about all of these places outside of Monrovia. There's a complete parrot of a security system in this place. Should we blame these people? Because sometimes we frown on them of their inability to respond to emergency issue, but they just do not have the logistics to work. Martin?
Thank you, Mr. Zion, and that's what I like about you, because you go beyond just asking questions. You ask critical questions that require critical answers. So thanks to you and Mark for the opportunity once more. But before responding to the issue of security, at the beginning or at the premise of your questioning or inquest, you talk about CPP and you talk about CDC. The other day, and thank God you established the fact that I am one activist who also criticized the opposition, but other people don't see it that way. You know, I do not want to criticize CDC. I do criticize the opposition as well. And there are records, there are proofs to show. You know, the other day I said on my Facebook page, Liberia as a country is between two dangerous options. Number one, On one side of the coin, we are having an alligator. On the other side of the coin, we are having a snake. So Liberia is between an alligator and a snake. So where do we go? Where do we go? Between an alligator and a snake.
There will be a
Now, let me say this.
Choice of preference now coming to factor in, correct?
Exactly. So it is up to the Liberian people. Which side do they choose? Do they choose the alligator? Do they choose the snake? Which one is lesser in terms of harm? Now, let me say this. The CPP has good people, very good people, who understand leadership, who understand governance, who are willing to seek transformative paradigms. However, CPP also has people who are greedy, corrupt, as compared to those in the CDC. The CDC is not an option at all. So if you ask Martin Kollie, who will you support in the coming election?
You mean the CPP is not an option at all?
I'm saying CDC.
You said CDC. Like I said
CDC is not an option at all. And I identify the problem of the CPP. The CPP is disintegrating because of greed, self-interest. I said there are very good people in the CDC who are able and willing to lead. There are also people whose intent is self-interest, self-aggrandizement, what they can get out of the process and not what the people can get out of the process. That's why up to date, the CPP has yet to show us any real plan in terms of what they will do in the area of health, what they will do in the area of education, what they will do in the area of security, what they will do in the area of the rule of law and transparency, what they will do in the area of social development, manpower development, and all of these sectors. We are yet to get any plan, but now we should have plan for the CPP, pointing towards these things, so that we can know that when the CPP takes power, they already have a blueprint. They already have a plan, a genuine plan. On the other hand, CDC has become unpopular. CDC is not even an option. The most dangerous political option right now in the history of our country is CDC. CDC is a misguided social club of Turkish elements and arrogant illiterates. So they are not even an option. So between the CPP and the CDC, Martin Kollie will settle down for CPP at any given election. CPP is the lesser evil yet, except a new alternative emerges that has qualities, attributes far more than what CPP has, then Martin Kollie could reconsider.
Okay, but
as an activist, I did support Darius DeLore, and I'm going to support him again. I'm going to support Fubi Heron. So I'm supporting individuals. Individuals within the CPP who are of quality and essence to the people's struggle, who can contribute, who can make the difference. Now let's get to security. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, let's get to security quickly. You asked a very critical question that must be answered. I just want to inform the entire world, Liberians in the diaspora, Liberians at home, President, we are careless about the security and safety of the Liberian people. That's the first notation I want to make. As we go along, I will prove that. Because I like to prove. When I speak, when I conclude, when I make assumptions, I like to prove with facts and empirics. Now, I listened to the Chief of Staff, Major General Prince Johnson III. He spoke recently at a program marking the transition of our national budget to a calendar year budget instead of a full quarter budget. What did he say? He frowned on the government of Liberia, specifically the Ministry of Finance, for its continuous failure to increase the budgetary appropriation of the armed forces of Liberia and other security apparatuses. Since 2018, are you aware there has been consistent cut in the budgetary appropriations of the AFL, the Liberian National Police, the Liberian Immigration Services, the Drug Enforcement Agency? I'm going to give the facts. I'm going to give the facts because the Liberian people deserve to know the truth. When they come to these discourses or when they come to these discussions, they don't bring fights with them. That's why they're afraid when Martin Kollie appears. So the AFL chief of staff only spoke, but he didn't give the details. Let me give the details, Mr. Zion and Mark. Now,
okay, now, yeah, I'll come into the detail here. And that's a good question because that was the second phase of my question. And just to let you know, we are also extended invitation to these agencies and those that are in authority to have this conversation, including the lengthy chat and kind of talking with Moses Carter, all of that. Why will somebody talk or why will somebody frown on something that his institution is not receiving? Philosophically, that's a very good idea, but fail to tell us vividly, okay, Martin, this is what the government is doing. And I'm directing this to General Johnson, a lack of support, but his questions, it was kind of vague. He did not come out to point out those specific. So what was the point of that? To speak to that? This is the same government. He works in the government. You frown on the government, or the government not providing the support. I don't know the sort of support. Is that a logistical support? Is that a technical training? Is that a manpower? What is he exactly? I know it boils down to finances, which is a greater integer of all of these things that we are talking about. But why did the minister did not go in depth to tell you and myself or the ordinary Liberian people, this is why it's lacking? Because that would give us the understanding, wait a minute, I thought AFL or the National Police has all of these logistics to work with, but they do not. So it would give me a second thought when I want to dash blame or shift blame on this institution. Why he decided to do that?
Thank you very much, Mr. Zio. Now, the Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces of Liberia occupies a very strategic position. Knowing who George Weah is, a dangerous dictator, he cannot give specifics. Otherwise, it will be misconstrued or misinterpreted by pro-regime elements. Very soon, George Weah himself will presume or assume that the Chief of Staff wants to overthrow him if he begins to give specifics relative to how the government continues to undermine the operations of the AFL. So considering the role of the Chief of Staff, Prince C. Johnson III, he cannot just say certain things, but Martin Kollie can, because my position is an activist. I'm an activist. I can say what I want to say and provide all of the details. We have over 1,800 army personnel. They are not even aware about these things I'm about to say, how the government has cut their budget drastically and dramatically. They are not aware. And the Chief of Staff could not say he's aware, or he could not say it to the public. So all he said, he's frowning on how the government is treating the security sector, especially the AFL. That's all he could say. He expressed his displeasure, his discontent, and he frowned on the government. That was his limit. But let me inform you. Let me inform the Liberian people. The precedent this government has set could undermine its own existence. I repeat.
How?
The precedent the government of President Weah has set could undermine its own existence. Never in the history of our country, Mr. Zion, has the budget of the armed forces of Liberia, never in our post-war history, since Ellen Johnson Sirleaf took over, even under Julie Bryan, the budget of the AFL was never 1.9 million. So let's go to some comparative analysis. Under Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, before Ellen Johnson Sirleaf could leave power, the budget of the armed forces of Liberia was $13,480,633. I repeat, before Ellen Johnson Sirleaf could turn over power in 2018, the budget of the Republic of Liberia, AFL, Armed Forces of Liberia, the budget of that security agency or apparatus was $13,480,633. Let's come to 2020-2021 national budget. What is the budget of the AFL currently? That amount, 13.4 million, has reduced or declined, or it has been cut down to $1,900,083. How can 1.9 million run the AFL? Let's be serious here, Mr. Zion. For God's sake, Let's be honest. How can 1.9 million run a country's national army?
So
that's a drop in the ocean, even for the. Now I'm coming to the specifics, because people in the AFL are also monitoring. One of them just wrote me. I'm a person that are monitoring. You know, whenever I appear, a lot of people monitor. So he just wrote me, and he's telling me you need to speak for us. You need to speak for us. Now, let me say this. Mr. Zion. It is important to note. It is important to note that Mr. Weah is not interested in the welfare and interest of army personnel, military personnel. No, he's not. He's interested in building more private estates, more duplexes, riding flashy cars, and empowering paramilitary and gang groups to instill fear and intimidation in the population of the country. And we'll get there. And I will tell you his Machiavellian totalitarian strategy being used ahead of 2020 and 2023 elections. Now, it is established already. Go and look at the budget. And I'm going to refer all Liberians to the specific portion of this year's budget. FY 2020-2021. Go to page number 191, budget code 203, budget line 100, 2020-2021 national budget. You will see in that budget, Armed Forces of Liberia, $1,900,083. Honor Ellie, the budget of the Armed Forces was more than 13.4 million. How come? The budget has dropped to 1.9 million. So let's calculate the disparity. Let's calculate the difference in terms of aggregate. See where the budget of the AFL has come from. See where it is now. Is that not risky for the country? Is that not risky for the people of the country?
Okay, so
doesn't that presuppose insecurity?
Okay,
doesn't that presuppose insecurity? Mark and Zion?
Yeah, Martin, let's proportion the responsibilities of governments yet and give it some sort of a fair conversation here, if you will, and you will be given the opportunity to respond. There are three branches of government in our country, and we have one of the greater part that holds the executive branch of government responsible, which happens to the legislative branch of government. This branch of government constitutes all elements, the opposition, the ruling party, group call themselves independent. I don't believe that there is no independent. They use these sort of words to sway it and kind of deceive our people here. Now, so the question here now, there are folks we have in the legislative branch of government who also constitute, who are part of the oppositions or different grouping. There are committees that review all of these things here. So why these people, they cannot speak to it? Is it that because the executive branch is dominant, or has some sort of dominion over the authority of the governing systems of Liberia? And if this is the case, then I will say it, in reality, we have two, maybe one branch of government, not three branches of government, because we have the legislative branch to hold the government, the executive responsible. We have the judiciary that is there to interpret the law, to get all of this going. So why is the executive branch of government is the only force that the people, that the 103 men and women, why are they not? Because that is a national security concern.
Exactly. This is a national security concern, like you said, reducing the budgetary appropriation of the armed forces of Liberia that is responsible to provide external security and respond to external aggression. This poses national security risks to the government and the people of the government. Let me come to the three branches of government in the context of Article 3 of the 1986 Constitution. What does the Constitution say relative to the three branches? The three branches can coordinate, but they must remain independent. They must be remain independent. Correct. That's what the law says, Article 3. Now, are the three branches independent? No. Two branches are subservient.
Though in essence, Martin, I'm trying to a bit of quantify. I'm saying even though the presidency has the greater power, and no matter what happens in terms of decision making, even though they will say they are coordinate branches of government.
No, but Mark, I don't want you to say the president has greater power. I disagree. I'm saying in the context of
what is in reality.
No, but what is in reality, Mark? What is in reality, Mark? The president is not greater than the lawmakers. That's the reality. And let me just come there quickly before addressing. Mark, let me fundamentally disagree with you when you say the president has greater power. And this is the background of my disagreement. The first thing is the legislature is the most powerful branch of government.
Right.
For those who are students of politics or those who have studied the epistemology of politics, the legislature can even impeach the president, but the president cannot impeach or dismiss any lawmaker. Two-third majority of the legislature of both parties through a joint resolution can impeach the president, and the president can no longer be a president. So you see the power of the legislature. But in Liberia, they have made the people to believe that the president is powerful than the legislature, or the executive branch is powerful than the legislature. No,
I think that's
America.
Speaking.
That's the Liberian context.
No, yeah, but
that's the Liberian context.
And I had to dwell in that. But that Liberian context is absolutely wrong. It's just turning the world.
Exactly. Most other countries around the world, presidents are being impeached. Presidents are being impeached just for lying. Presidents are being impeached. What other countries around the world?
What are we
It is only in Liberia that you say, oh, the president is powerful. And you know why the president is powerful? Because you have a group of greedy elements, spineless elements calling themselves lawmakers, who do not even understand their three functions: lawmaking, oversight, and representation. Yeah. The president uses his power as chief executive of the country to just dash a few dollars amongst them, and they are fighting. So when they fight for those few dollars, then they tend to undermine the interests of the country, the national security interests of the country as well. So like Mr. Zion said, I have been saying this ever since. We do not have three branches currently under George Weah. No three branches. Nobody should deceive you. So
okay.
What we have two branches of government. We have two spineless branches of government that are subservient to the executive. President Weah is abrogating unto himself excessive power at the expense of the very constitution he took over to protect. Can you call this a government? Can you call this a democratic system? A democratic system works for the people and not for a few group of political elites who are described as political kleptocrats.
Yeah, let me.
So we have to be honest about the conversation here.
Okay, let me expand the reason what I found draw a sort of a red line with my colleague Mike Dyer, and that's the thing we do here. That we agree, disagree. It doesn't matter whether he can disagree with me as well. We don't have a specific tradition here or agree with me everything. And the reason I said that it shouldn't be that they are rewriting history. However, it is the executive branch. When you are the executive branch of government and both houses, for example, in your control, then you have leverage. What you can do, you can have your senators or you have your lawmakers to use their influence to lobby. That's what we see happening here. They can get to their people and say, hey, this is the agenda. They drives the executive branch. But to say the executive branch of government, here you have a select committee. They can summon the Minister of Information. They can summon the the Secretary of State, and all the prominent people.
Exactly.
We saw the impeachment proceeding here with Donald Trump. The exercise were conducted. Does that mean the allegation against the president was correct? Absolutely not. But both houses, the government, the opposition, they had the opportunity to argue all of that. But let me just take you back here to comments and words. Yeah, we hold people responsible. You know that, Martin. And I want you to expand on this here before we can move on. You said the opposition, the CPP, they are all corrupt. And I agree with you. I find it very difficult when the opposition, the CPP, can incorporate, can embrace, can do the milk sucking with people like character like Sandra Johnson to bring them in and many other folks to say they want to be the alternative of the Liberian people. I find that difficult. And you were alluded to it. Why will you come here to tell us that indeed, if you are admitted, you are alluded that these people, they are also corrupt, they are not, but you draw a fine line. So why will you come to say, okay, yeah, these people are corrupt, but I can better work with them? Why not you as an advocate, you advocate for genuine authenticity or people who you strongly believe will be the face of the people? So it seems like you try to be in two places at the same time. Am I going right here, or what am I saying?
No, Mr. Zio, quite frankly, sometimes some people tend not to understand my role, my position, my history. It is my duty to make some clarifications here
Mm-hmm.
I really didn't say people from the CPP are corrupt. No, I didn't say that. I said there are some good people as well as bad people in the CPP.
Mm-hmm.
There are some corrupt people as well as there are transparent people within the CPP. So the CPP has two sides, two colors.
Are you willing to call
I
out?
gave you an instance.
You are being very forceful in calling out names. You said Dr. Weah is a dictator. I want to come back to that. Are you willing to also call
I gave
out
you an instance.
those corrupt people within CPP?
Oh yeah, sure. I gave you an instance.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to the CPP. Let's go to the CPP. Let's go to the legislature, for example. With the exception of few CPP lawmakers,
Mm-hmm.
the rest of them are as corrupt as CDC lawmakers. Look at, for example, Barney Sherman. Look at Barney Sherman. You just called Sano Johnson. These people have a record of economic sabotage and corruption. Look at B-Ball 1, B-Ball 2 corruption scandal. You know, so except for a few, like Darius Delon, Yombli Kanga, Yeke Koluba, those who are fighting on the legislative floor for the people, you know, the rest of the other CPP lawmakers, they are corrupt. As CDC lawmakers are corrupt. And I'm not going to mince my voice on this. You know, they are not helping the system. They join those CDC lawmakers to take brown envelopes too. And we must be bold with ourselves to say these things publicly. So say these things publicly. That's why I said in the CPP, there are good people as well as there are bad people. But the CDC is a complete disaster. The CDC is a complete disaster under George Weah. Complete disaster. But we were talking about security, and I didn't end my thought on the area of security.
Okay,
I just want to provide a few facts. So I already told you the budgetary appropriation this fiscal year for the armed forces of Liberia. Let's go to other security apparatuses. The Liberian people need to know these things, Mr. Zia. Mm-hmm. It is their right, so that they know whether this government is interested in providing security and safety for them or not. You know, because there are two security apparatuses that are primarily responsible for national security. The armed forces of Liberia is responsible for external security. The Liberian National Police is responsible for internal security. Let's go to the Liberian National Police. Why does LMP have this fiscal year? The budget of LMP, Mr. Zion, was $17,232,850 United States dollars. Are you aware that the government of President Weah has cut that amount down to $1,116,676? Are you aware? So from 17.2 million to 1.1 million. How will the police operate? Does that make sense to you? A national police force with a manpower composition of 4,000 or 4,200 police officers. How can you appropriate 1.1 million to the police force, thinking that they will fight armed robbery, thinking that they will fight ritualistic killing, and all of these prevailing threats against the Liberian people? It doesn't make sense. Let's go to Liberian Immigration Services. The budget of the Liberian Immigration Services was $5,802,263. Are you aware that Mr. Weah has cut down this amount to $1,001,015? So from 5.8 million for the Liberian Immigration Services to 1 million. Does that make sense to you? No wonder why drug trafficking is on the increase. No wonder why illegal immigrants are coming to Liberia without documentations, because of this irrational decision to reduce the budgetary appropriation of security agencies that are responsible to protect the national interest and national security of the country. Let's go to National Fire Service. It's good for our people to know, what did Mr. Weah do to undermine these security agencies in the country? It's good, especially the Liberians in the diaspora. They need to know these facts. That's why pro-regime elements will not come to face Martin Kollie, because they don't have the fights. They don't have the fights. Now let's go to National Fire Service. The budget of the National Fire Service was $2,167,850 United States dollars. This fiscal year, 2020-2021, that amount has been cut down to $159,937. So from 2.1 million to $159,937. Then this brings me to the point that the president is just cool. You know how much the president gave me his wife per annum? Cloud we are get 700,000. But look at your National Fire Service getting $159,937. You think he came to lead? You think he came to serve? He didn't come to lead, but to loot. He didn't come to serve, but to steal.
All right.
Let's go to the last agency. I will not deal with all of the security agencies. Yeah, Let me just deal with the last one, then we can go further.
Yeah.
Drug Enforcement Agency. Do you know, Mr. Zion, a lot of our youngsters, young brothers, young sisters, they are going wayward because of drug abuse, the proliferation of addictive substances in the country, and the inability of the government to maintain, contain, and respond to these threats, social threats. Look at what they are giving the Drug Enforcement Agency. The budget of the Drug Enforcement Agency, DEA, was $1,745,426 United States dollars. This fiscal year, 2020-2021, Mr. Weah's government has cut that amount down to $426,369. Go and look at the budget of the Ministry of State for Presidential Affairs, where Mr. Weah sits as president of the country. The budget of that ministry is $10.8 million United States dollars, when the budget of DEA is just $426,369. Is that rational budgeting? If we really want to protect the national interest, can this be a form of rational budgeting or irrational budgeting? So let's be honest here. Let's be frank about the national interest. Since the government came to power, all Mr. Weah has done is to seek his own interest. Look at his number of condominiums, estates, duplexes. Look at the life Mr. Weah lives. He lives a luxurious life while the poor people suffer. And these were the poor people who brought him to power. A man who claims to be a son of Gibraltar cannot even rescue the poor people from West Point, cannot even save just 100 lives. I challenge seditions, and this is an open challenge to anybody monitoring. Show me a single person Mr. Weah has elevated from the slum since he came to power. Show me. If you show me, I will apologize to Mr. Weah. Show me a single person Mr. Weah has elevated from the slum, elevated all the property from the slum. Show me. He's going to year 4 now. A few months from now, he will be in year 4. Just show me one person from West Point, or one person from Clarendon, or one person from Newtown, or one person from Doe community, one person from Sony Wayne, one person from PHP, or one person from any one of these slum communities or rural areas or rural hamlets Mr. Weah has risen or has taken or has lifted out of poverty. I challenge any institutions to do that.
Okay, holding everything constant, Martin, here we verify, we check the authenticities of this figure. Is quite interesting. And I hope to lay hand on that, hopefully, and that's why it's good to have an outlet here. Like in my own state here, anything that I want to know about my major, my sitting congressman, David Cicilline, Jack Reed, Sharon Whitehouse, I know where to go to get all of this information. That's the easier thing. When I go to their website, I go to their page, anything that I want to know is visible. I don't even need to ask anything. If I want to make an appointment, all I need to do.
Okay, let me just provide you.
Yeah, I want to.
Mr. William.
Yeah.
I mean, Mr. Zion.
Yes.
What I'm going to do, I'm going to send you the screenshot right now to your inbox.
Okay.
I'm going to send you the screenshot of the national budget relative to all of the figures and facts I have referenced. You can check the national budget of this year, fiscal year 2020-2021. Let me give you the 2 references to these information and facts I have provided. Yeah. Page number 178, budget code 202, budget line 100. Let's go to the other reference. Yeah. The other reference is page 191, budget code 203, budget line 100. I will give you the screenshot right now as we are speaking. You can show it to the public so they see for themselves. I don't just speak. I speak truth to power, justice, and equality. But that's what I do. Because I do it out of conviction and love for country.
What I'm going to do. What I'm not going to do, if I receive it here, I will embrace it. I will welcome it. But in order to make the conversation well proportionate, I will also reach out to folks within government and see and get their versions. If they feel we will try to arrange time to get you here, then at least that's how you proportional information. But based on this, what we are talking about, because I am concerned with the National Police, the Immigration, the Drugs Enforcement Agency, the Armed Forces of Liberia, when these institutions are not equipped, then I find it difficult how the national government is going to operate. So it brings me back to the point of this sort of a prediction that was made a couple of months back by one of the controversial lawmakers, Senator Prince Johnson, when he frowned on the very government that he supports. But I want you to listen to this here. Whether we can now agree with Prince Johnson in the past or some of his statement, and we're going to have a conversation. This is courtesy by Spoon TV, James Goody Flomos. Let's listen to the Martin. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm trying to get a screenshot for you so you show it to your audience.
Okay, yeah. While you're doing that, I want to play this here for the audience to see because it's in parallel to our conversation, and I want you to listen to this.
Because you know what? I see this. 2023, it will be rape.
Rape?
Yes.
What makes you think so?
Prophetically speaking, I'm a man of God. I'm a man of God. It's not something I'm seeing by this government. I say it will be rape. That is government to remain in power. Okay? And that will bring the government and the civilians into confrontation. So if I run for president, it is rape, I will lose both the Senate and the presidency.
So did you see the end of that vision? What will happen if it is rape?
I see some confusion between civilians and people. I see more demonstration. I see more chaos. I'm a man of God.
The citizens are crying every day. The libraries have. Why are you all the lawmakers?
If it don't happen, what I tell you, don't believe me.
Why are the policy of putting in place to make things good for the citizens who put in offices?
Well, we do our best. We advise. But you cannot take the horse to the river and force it to drink. Because if I were president, I would prioritize salaries. Salary put food on the people's table. It made a civil servant to buy things to the market. Money goes around. But look how we just spent that 4 months, we haven't gotten paid. The first of us can't say.
Are you disappointed?
We're going back to Taylor's Day.
Are you disappointed?
I'm supposed to be disappointed when my people are crying. Cup of rent in Nima County expensive, bag of rent high. So if you want us to vote for you, we are prepared. But the first time we cry, then we will continue to cry on the second time. That the cry will continue until 2023. It will make us change our mind because I won't be stupid to come to Nima and say, everybody simple. Ah, they will throw me off. They will throw me off.
So you feel comfortable of being senator?
Yes, what God said, I will be a man. Because I tell you, there was massive rigging during this going election. My school, all my children here, we can see. My wife and my children, we went to my school to vote. I didn't get one vote from there. So my wife betrayed me. I betrayed myself.
But did you take an issue to the National Elections Commission?
I care less. I know what happens, so I keep quiet.
Okay. Comrade Kollie? Martin, are you there?
Yeah, Mr. Zian.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm here, but I was not actually getting Prince Johnson at the end because of the interruption.
Oh, the keep. Okay. Basically, I'm sure you have seen this video where he alleged that there was a massive, there's going to be a rig and how the 2023 elections going to be rigged. These were some of the predictions he was making. Now, should we believe this guy this time around? He's part of the bear wheel. Even though he made this sort of prediction, what's going to happen? And it's no different from these statements of political correctness, because even though he said it's going to be rigged, he told all sort of stuff, but he's still embedded with the Saint Verrett government. I know he has made a lot of controversial statements in the past. Based on the conversation that we had previously and looking at his tone and what we are going to, that's kind of like raise a serious red line to me whether this election will be credible, because he's within the system, and this is what he's saying. But my question is, should we believe in this time around?
In the first place, Mr. Zin, before Prince Johnson could even speak about the potential rigging of the 2020 special senatorial elections and the 2023 general and presidential elections, we did predict that the Weah-led government has a motive a motive, an intent, a Machiavellian intent to rig the polls in 2020 and 2023. I just don't know whether you can remember. I criticized the CPP in one of my articles. I wrote a 5-page analysis relative to the political framework of the CPP, and I made a number of predictions ahead of 2020 and 2023. I think that article was published in August 2020, and it was even featured in one of the subsidiaries of Wall Street Journal, in one of the subsidiaries of Wall Street Journal, New York, USA. They featured that article that I wrote. And I was very clear about the motive of the CDC ahead of these elections. The first thing is the CDC has become very unpopular in a relatively short period for a number of factors and objective reasons. Number one is greed, corruption. Number two, nepotism. Number three, ethnicity. Number four, gross incompetence and patronage. Number five, and the factors are countless. What are those factors that have made the CDC unpopular in less than 3 years? And the reason why I have said the CDC is unpopular, judging from the latest election, 2019 elections, where Darius DeLong won landslide. Nobody has won the CDC in Moserado County. Nobody since 2005. Nobody. All of the senators that have been produced in Moserado County, they were all seditious. They were all seditious. Nobody won. Geraldine Doseri was from CDC. Hannah Brent was from CDC. John Musu Freeman was from CDC. George Weah himself came on CDC ticket as senator. Sir Joseph. So for the first time in the history of our political journey, the CDC was defeated in its stronghold, Moserado County. That has sent a message of unpopularity. You know, popularity is a diminishing commodity in the context of economics. It can diminish. It can reach the point of saturation sometimes. So, because of how unpopular this government is, of how unpopular the CDC has become, the only solution to maintain power is through rigging, vote rigging. And the CDC will do anything, anyhow, anywhere to rig these upcoming polls. So
Okay,
Prince Johnson does not necessarily have to reiterate. The people are already aware. And this is the strategy they have employed. Number one strategy is to instill fear in the population by punishments like the Sabu unit, the Zebra unit, the Moscow Empire. Are you aware just in a period of 2 weeks, 2 additional gang groups have added on the Zebra unit and the Sabu unit? Are you aware there's a new group called Moscow Empire? Go on my page. I uploaded the picture of their leader, their gang leader, along with the weapons they usually use against their prey or victims. So in the context of totalitarianism, this is called insurgency, internal insurgency on the part of the regime. So that's what the regime is using. Number two, the regime is going to use established institutions to rig the election, like the National Elections Commission, the Supreme Court. Look at the National Elections Commission.
Okay,
who are the commissioners there?
Okay,
they are pro-CDC. They are pro-WEA. They are pro-regime.
Okay, Martin,
look at the composition of the Supreme Court. 4 out of 5 justices are from CDC.
Yeah. Okay, let me hold you out there. I don't know why the opposition is not arguing for them. So let me ask you this controversial question, because the Liberia Public Radio and the African Star took a definitive positions, and there were 70 recommendations that were made to national government. Is at the evaluation to see whether they would take it. First of all, considering what all that is unfolding, we do not see this process to be feasible, because in the 2017, I know the Supreme Court of Liberia calls for the comprehensive cleaning up of the voter roll. Not just cleaning up, it should be published, and not just only published, it should be challenged and validated to create a plain level fee. I'm not sure whether that process is ongoing. Recently, I saw experts from ECOWAS and other agencies, international agencies, they are in Liberia. If you have all of these apprehension and you are an advocate, will you say, in the absence of all of these that I just outlined, will you call for the continuation of the 2020 midterm?
The first thing is, the opposition had a better chance had it pursued the protests they called for. This was my disappointment when the opposition called off the protests that was scheduled for the 28th of October 2020. The people were in high gear to come out and protest
is that
for a very legitimate reason.
Is that yes to my question?
For a very... Come again?
Is that yes to my question? I am saying, in the absence of all that you outline, and we here, LPR and African staff say, hey, there must be enough training. The Supreme Court mandated NEC in the last time that the voter roll should be clean, it should be published, it should be validated, it should be challenged so that everybody will have a comprehensive review. I don't know why we kept registering people. There should be only new to registering should be in place. People that are registered, it just need to be updated as well. But every day registration going on, every year registration going on. So my question is, in the absence of all of this apprehension, will you call for the continuations of the election? And if
no, absolutely not, Mr. Gill.
Okay,
no, absolutely not. How can you hold election in the midst of fraud, malfeasance? How can you hold election in the midst of inconsistencies, discrepancies? Flaws,
you support Darrell. You support Darrell Dillon as an individual, correct?
I support Dillon as an individual, of course. I voted for Dillon. As an activist, it is my right to vote.
Of course,
it is my right to vote for anyone I want to vote for.
Absolutely.
So I supported Dillon, and I'm going to support Dillon again. So then, I am saying we cannot go to election with that voters' roll. Because the voters' roll we have now will not produce any credible result at the polls.
Okay, so then, Martin,
so this is where opposition politicians.
Yeah, Martin, is your support based on condition or is an open air one?
Come again?
I'm asking you, your support for Dillon, is it an open one or is it based on condition? To clean the voter roll.
You know, my support. Mm-hmm. My support will always be based on condition in the interest of the people. You know, because the point is, I'm not only supporting Dillon, I'm supporting Fubi Herring. Mm-hmm. So if even Fubi Herring does not go on the ticket of the CPP, I'm still going to support Fubi Herring in district number 9. Because I understand, I know what he can produce. I know the substance he's made of. So I'm going to support a few individuals who I believe can help the Liberian people. Can lead the agenda for change, economic prosperity and recovery.
So, Martin,
so my support will be conditional and situational. My support to candidates in these upcoming elections will be situational, will be conditional. You know, and I'm going to set standards. The standards are going to be in the interest of the Liberian people and the Liberian Republic. But let's come back to your question. Very important question you asked. Am I satisfied about what is going on right now? No. In the first place, we cannot trust the National Elections Commission of Devieto Lasana. Devieto Lasana is a compromised chairperson of the Elections Commission. She's pro-regime, she's pro-WIA, she's pro-government. I cannot even trust the Supreme Court. The current Chief Justice we have.
Are you airing the views and the opposition? Are you airing the views of the opposition, or is this Martin Kollie's way of addressing these issues that are confronting Liberia?
In fact, I have warned the opposition several times not to trust this current commission of the National Elections Commission. I have warned the opposition many times not to trust this current bench of the Supreme Court, because all of these people are compromised and politically influenced to favor the ruling establishment at the expense of the people in the opposition. I have been very critical. My views have been definite on issues, Mr. Zion and Mark. My views have been very definite on issues.
Are they listening to you?
And my point is, hello?
Yeah, are they listening to you?
It is up to them to listen to me or not. I am not a member of the CPP. I am not a member of any political party. But what I do is in solidarity of the people's struggle, because at the end of the day, my interest is for the livelihood of the people to improve. So anything that will lead to the improvement and liberation of our people, anything that will lead to the liberation and economic emancipation of our people, Martin Kollie will certainly be involved. You saw how I led the 16 billion project in pursuit of public accountability and transparency. You saw how I led the asset declaration project. The next day, the president had to declare his assets. So I'm on record of standing with the people. I'm on record of standing by the side of history. I would never compromise the interest of the people. So I'm telling you, Mr. Zion, going to this election would be a very dangerous option for the CPP. Because the voters' roll is yet to be cleaned. The voters' roll is yet to be cleaned. Certain actions are yet to be taken. Look at the situation of NEC. Look at what they did recently. Let me just lay my thought on this, then you can ask a follow-up question. Look at what they did recently. I was quoting the electoral law. I don't know how many persons have read the new electoral law of 2004. Right? People need to read and research. The law didn't say during the course of a special election there should be new registration. No. What I expected the National Elections Commission to have done in accordance with the new electoral law was to only change damaged cards and lost cards. That's what the law said. The law didn't say new. The law doesn't call for new registration. The law says you can only change lost cards or you can change damaged cards. But I saw the National Elections Commission recruiting new voters, registering new voters, and the CPP is sitting there looking. So how can you expect a credible outcome of this coming election in December?
Martin,
it is impossible.
CPP took session to that, and then that's what brought in the ECOWAS RTS ped, I think.
Let me welcome.
You are breaking in. I'm not getting you.
No, I'm saying the CPP took serious session to new voter registration. That what led the ECOWAS to have made a recommendation for RTS ped to come and look and clean the voter roll.
Mike, you are breaking in. Quite frankly, I'm not getting you.
Okay.
You are coming in bumpy. You are coming in bumpy, and the interruption is creating some problems. So maybe you could change your location. I'm not getting you, Mark.
Are you hearing me, Kollie, Martin?
Yeah, I'm getting you, Mr. Zion, but I'm not getting Mark. I don't know why. Probably due to network issues.
So what? I guess you get to me.
Mike, try and face your location. Let's see. I'm getting here, but I don't know why he says he's not getting here. But okay, Pa George, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, don't hesitate to come in here, but let me push Martin here a little bit. I hate to be repetitive. We say we took positions relative to the process. So let me ask you, in the absence of this, even though you are supporting these individuals, which is your constitutional right, if they go ahead, because in everybody campaigning, first of all, while they stay in process, everybody has violated, everybody has no regard for the other branch of government here. Will you validate the result of the election in the absence of all that you have called for? And the people that you support, they don't listen to you, or they don't see any reason to argue for themselves, and they decide to go to these elections as scheduled. Will you validate the results of the elections, or will we come back here to say, well, I told them, even though you supported them, you did not discourage them because the process is not cool? And the reason I'm asking this is, our people, when it's in their favor, then it's fair. When it doesn't go in their favor, then it's unfair. So I'm asking here, let's get it on record. If the law is not clean as mandated by the Supreme Court of Liberia, and they decided to go into these elections, will you validate the result of the election?
Now, I made my position clear, Mr. Zion, on these matters. My position is definite, or has been definite. In as much the voters' roll is not clean, we should not expect any credible outcome of the election in 2020 December. How can you get an accurate conclusion from a flawed premise? A flawed premise cannot lead to an accurate conclusion. Common logic.
So then why
you have a massive voters' roll?
So
how can it lead to a credible outcome?
Then why
so my point is, I disqualify the process as of now, like I did on other platforms I have appeared on. Of the process is predicated upon the fact that a lot of things have not been put in place. In fact, the Supreme Court needs to honor its own verdict in 2017. This was the very same Supreme Court that said, before we go to any other election, the voters' roll must be clean. So why are starting now with the regime relative to quote unquote the process should continue with all cleaning the voters.
Yeah, okay, but
So
Mr. Kollie,
ruled in 2017 that if the National Elections Commission does not clean the voters' roll, we cannot go to any other election other than this 2017 election. We are in 2020. The opposition political parties are demanding that the voters' roll be clean. The very same Supreme Court is undermining the process because it is being influenced politically by the power that be. So Martin K. and Kollie,
but Marvin,
I don't agree with that. I don't agree.
Marvin,
Hold on one second. I don't agree with that to say they are undermining. They have the right to avoid the process. But if I know the process, if I feel the process is not right, it's not transparent, it's not clean, and I decide to go there, so I try to be in two places at the same time. Okay, there's one school of thought say I will win, and the other one say I will not win, and I decide to take that political risk. Life is a risk. So the question here, let me bring in Pa George here. Pa George.
Yeah.
If you are, hold on one second, and I know you're one of the critical voices of the government, which is okay. If you were contesting for the senatorial seat for Bone County, your county, let me take you to Central Liberia right now. If you were contesting for senatorial seat for Bone County and considering all of the dramas and things that is unfolding, and you know in Florida where all of these apprehensions are right over your head, and you decide to go in the process, will you come back tomorrow to cry wolf?
The first thing, I will not participate, Mr. Zion, because the demand, the requirement by the Constitution has not been met by net. So any attempt for me to go into that process, that means I'm committing a political suicide for myself and my people. I will already reject the position until those requirements can be met. One, look at the referendum. The Constitution said 1 year education on the referendum. That has not been done. Those are what is on the referendum. It should be separate count. None of them took place. And you got people today canvassing around, hoping to go into the election by December. Now the question you ask Martin, let me phrase it again, because he's one of the credit. The question here again, personally, will you accept that result? Knowing what you know now, going into that attempt, will you accept that result? If those people go into it,
but I did say I did say no. I did say I'm not going to accept any result without the cleaning of the voters' roll, which was a precondition set aside in 2017 by the very Supreme Court that is instructing the NEC to carry out the process further. Now, I have advised the opposition political parties to put pressure to bear. That's why I was disappointed when they called off the 28th October protests. Because at the end of the day, like you rightly say, if you go to a kangaroo process and you are cheated, the ruling establishment wins you, you got no qualm, you got no issue, because you went into the process with all putting pressure to bear to ensure that the 2017 verdict was upheld by the very Supreme Court. So my point is, the opposition cannot go to an election that is already a setup. This is a setup. You enter into that process, you will be whipped massively, because it is an entire setup to deprive the voters of their popular will.
Okay.
And if the voters are deprived of their popular will, it means that the opposition political parties will also be deprived.
Martin, what then will you make of the ongoing cleaning up exercise by the ECOWAS RT experts that were hired to come here?
Oh, I can tell you for a fact that ECOWAS is a political institution as well. Like the AU, the UN, these are all political institutions. Do they have interest? Yes, they have interest, but strategic interests. Strategic interests. This was the same ECOWAS that told us not to protest during the Bring Back Our Money. They convinced me as leader of the protest to say, look, there's no need to protest. Let's sit down and settle it. I said, no. And they told me, if anything happens, Martin, you will be responsible. I said, yes. Anything that happens in this country, I will be responsible. Put it on my head.
All right.
So CPB went to ECOWAS. After 2 days, the Supreme Court said, okay, send the CPB court off its protest because They said ECOWAS is going to intervene. The process is going to go on. We're all cleaning the voters' room. You see the politics that is playing? So the Supreme Court is saying the process should go on. CPP is claiming that ECOWAS will intervene. How will the process go on when it is messy? The first thing is the Supreme Court should halt the process, review, analysis, and investigation. All of these things are put in place by the ECOWAS and all parties involved. Then before you can continue, but the process is continuing while ECOWAS is intervening. That's contradiction. It doesn't make sense in the context of common logic.
And I agree with you. ECOWAS is a big political institution. That is clear, is glaring. I remember when Samuel Doe was captured and killed, and when ECOWAS then Secretary General Dr. Abbas Bono was interviewed, how can this happen before the very eyes, at the feet of the peacekeeper? And he said that was ECOWAS plan. And then the following day went to Reuben White of BBC asking, what did he say? He said that was a slip of tongue. So all of these political, that was a slip of tongue, and that it is.
But
yeah.
Let me just say something about this ECOWAS thing here. ECOWAS is not a corrupt institution. Reasons. You see what is going on in Nigeria? You see what is going on in Guinea? Ivory Coast. ECOWAS is not saying anything. These people are tampering with the constitution to subvert the democracy of those countries. They are already tampering with the constitution. ECOWAS is silent on this issue. So how can someone trust ECOWAS? This is a serious problem in West Africa. ECOWAS is a political club.
They have come in to ensure that some level of satisfaction takes place.
But when Mr. Dan, let me ask you, if you think ECOWAS, what did they in Gambia? They went after that to move that leader.
Yeah, Jamie.
Yeah, Jamie. Now, Conte has changed the constitution. None of them say anything. In Ivory Coast, they have changed the constitution. None of them say anything. So why Nigeria is on fire?
What I mean?
Why you think that institution will be credible institution?
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Are you saying ECOWAS should intervene because a sovereign nation change our constitution to say no, don't do it? Then what's the responsibility of your member of the parliament?
Mr.
Martin?
Yeah, Martin? Come again?
Yeah. Is that I'm asking Papa George. He said ECOWAS are there and Cote d'Ivoire are gaining, which of course contemplate the temper with their constitution. Is that a responsibility of ECOWAS to tell people, say, don't change your constitution?
Well, yeah, sure. Sure, Mr. Zia. Now, when you look at the ECOWAS and its formation, ECOWAS is a regional bloc, right? Like the AU is. But the only difference between ECOWAS and the AU, ECOWAS represents 15 countries, whilst the African Union represents 55 countries. So the African Union is above the Economic Community of West African States.
Right, it's a supplement.
The mandate of ECOWAS, the mandate of ECOWAS is to ensure stability, economic, political, and social stability and coherence within the region. So when one member state of the ECOWAS is violating the statute of the ECOWAS, it is the responsibility of ECOWAS to intervene. The Constitution says 2 terms. The Constitution did not say. The Constitution did not say 3 terms. Look at what is happening in Ivory Coast. Look at what is happening in Guinea. Look at what happened recently in Nigeria. Protesters were killed by the government of Buhari. What did ECOWAS say? Look at what happened in Zimbabwe. Look at what happened in Sudan and other countries. What did the AU say?
Mali.
So a lot of times, I wonder what are these regional governmental organizations are really honest to themselves and their constituents.
So
because
then the question that comes to mind, Martin, the question that comes to mind, what is the status of limitations of ECWA in the arrangements? I said, then the question that comes to mind, is there any status of limitations of ECWA? What are the technical meetings or details as to what ECWA, how should ECWA to proceed to go about to do things that they are doing and the other folks are not doing? If this is the case, who's supposed to make this representation? Who's supposed to make the argument? Look at it for Cote d'Ivoire. The opposition said we're not going to go to the ballot box. What happened? Other few people are going ahead to vote, right?
Now, it should be the responsibility of ECOWAS. Now, ECOWAS should not be ECOWAS. Now, let me say this, Mr. Zion. The strategy of the ECOWAS in terms of preventing conflict has been very poor. I repeat, the strategy of ECOWAS in terms of preventing conflict across the region has been very, very poor. What does ECOWAS do? ECOWAS usually waits for conflict before it can resolve. We should be preventing conflict instead of resolving conflict. Be preventing conflict as an economic community of West African states instead of managing conflict or Martin, resolving conflict. That should be the interest of ECOWAS. But look at the two situations in Guinea, in Cote d'Ivoire.
I just want to come here a bit, Martin. Okay, it's not getting me. I just want to come here a little bit here, Martin. Sometimes ECOWAS will send an early warning to a particular country when it senses some level of conflict coming. But yet and still, it will not go into the national issue of a particular country, especially looking at the sovereignty of a particular nation. So I think this is from the backdrop that ECOWAS will only go and sign an early warning, but it won't go into the nitty-gritty of a particular country's politics.
But Mr. Dan, let me hold you
there. But
then why they went into Gambia? Why they force the leader out of Gambia? This is a double standard, and we have to call it what it is. This is a double standard. The democracy now that we're trying to build in West Africa and Africa as a whole.
Hello?
The position that Conte and Africans are taking is slipping us back into a dictatorship, because those are the hallmark of a dictatorship. And ECOWAS is not forcing these people. In a way, you go to Gambia and move a leader because he tried to survive the constitution and election. Why you can't do the same thing in Ivory Coast? Why you can't do the same thing in Guinea? Why you can't do the same thing in Mali? This is a double standard, and this is taking us back now to the dictatorship that we have tried to overcome now. Because when countries start changing the term from 2 to 3 years, from 3 years to fourth term, that is a recipe for another trouble on the continent, in the sub-region. And ECOWAS is not proactive. They do it selectively. It's like a club. This is why I say ECOWAS is very corrupt. Because they make money when the conflict come out at the expense of those citizens and those countries. If we cannot stand up to ECOWAS, there's no need. We have to call it how it is. They set a tune in Gambia. Why are they going to do a thing in Mali? Why they cannot say, look, Conte, if you do, they're going to sanction you. Arago, if you do, they're going to sanction you. But they are very mute because those are their friends. So what happened in Liberia, I'm seeing this. I'm very troubled that what is going on in Liberia.
Okay, let's quickly here. Let's pivot here. The number is out there. People want to call, fine, but this is an intellectual.
Let me just come in quickly before you can bring in your callers, Mr. Zion. I want to respond to the question of Mark.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so like the senior man said, like the elder said, like Mr. Amos George said, there are too many options to consider when a country or a government of a country refuses to abide by the constitution. Because what is taking place now in West Africa, Africa, the world, this must be of concern to ECOWAS and all regional blocs across the world. Dictators are emerging in Africa, and this is dangerous for our democracy. You know, dictatorship and democracy cannot go side by side, right? They cannot cohabitate. Dictatorship and democracy cannot cohabitate. So the ECOWAS now should be more proactive, like Mr. George said, to mitigate conflict, to mitigate violence, post and pre-electoral violence. If a government refuses to abide by the Constitution, the ECOWAS needs to be very clear about what it will do. The ECOWAS has the power to isolate Ivory Coast. The ECOWAS has the power to isolate Guinea. The ECOWAS has the power to isolate Liberia. If the governments of these countries are not abiding by the Constitution, right? You can do that through diplomatic sanction. You can do that through military intervention. You can do that through economic or political sanction. So there are many options to consider to isolate these countries where certain governments do not want to abide by the Constitution. All they want to do is to abrogate excessive power onto themselves, like in the case of President George Weah. So I'm saying the ECOWAS needs to be more honest and sincere if it must be respected by member countries. Because you cannot sit there and a certain president rigs an election. You cannot sit there and a certain leader abrogates the Constitution to go for third term, even though the Constitution says 2 terms. And then you come afterwards, you say, oh, let's just forget it, for peace sake. No. Democracy was never built on the pillar of peace. It was built on the pillar of the popular will of the people. And when a dictator decides to undermine the popular will of the people, we cannot settle down for peace. We must settle down for what democracy calls for. So what I'm saying is, there are signs of danger in Liberia currently under the Weah-led government. The signs are very clear. The signs are very clear. And if the ECOWAS does not stand up, if the African Union does not stand up, if the United Nations, the European Union, all of our partners do not stand up, President Weah is going to run our country into chaos and crisis, which we want to prevent and which we must prevent. Howbeit, if the government decides to rig the votes of the people in this coming election, if the government decides to continue on the process without cleaning the voters' roll, which is a matter of mandate from the highest court of the land according to its ruling in 2017. If the government decides to deprive the people of their popular will, I can tell you for a fact that Liberia risks a dead democratic end that will certainly transition into a mass full-blown violence and ruin the country's economy and democracy.
Okay, hold on. Let me go to the line yet. Let's get our first caller here, 267 number 8440. Caller guy, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, what's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Sanford Roberts. I'm calling from San Francisco, California.
Oh, okay, welcome, brother. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. I want to thank and appreciate your panel for this wonderful discussion. And this is what I wanted to also bring to you guys' attention. This is a new trend that is unfolding in our on our continent. Looking at what Martin Kollie was talking and the older brother, Mr. George, was discussing, these are stuff that we overlook. And looking at what is unfolding right now in that place is a test to show whether they can, African leaders can get away with this kind of behavior. I think it will be better that we come up with some kind of a petition to the ECOWAS headquarters. What's his name? That's his name? I'm not sure. But we have to petition these leaders to tell them, hey, you cannot run the continent or the region, the sub-region, as if you just wake up from your dream or your bed and think what you described. And I saw a video posted by Henry Costa about some outrage going on in Ivory Coast. But what I'm basically trying to say here is,
yeah, interest on the volume of course, yeah, so we're coming the other people.
What we need to do as citizens of West Africa, we need to be able to come out and tell these people, hey, the war, the civilized war, the democratic war requires 2 terms. There is no way you can change the constitution because you think you're the best president for the country to be able to change the constitution and then run for 3rd term. We should not allow those things to happen, because when it happened in Ghana or when it happened in Ivory Coast or Guinea, it will happen in Liberia and will spread all over the region. So it will be better that we petition ECOWAS to stop this kind of behavior.
Okay.
Immediately. Thank you.
Thank you so much to stop those sort of behavior immediately. Let me go to this number here, 212 number 2083. Caller, what's your name and where you calling from?
My name is Amadou Dakabwe Glenn. I'm calling from New York, New York. Thank you, Mr. So.
New York, New York.
I have a couple of questions for you.
Kollie is off. Yeah, Amadou.
And some advices.
Amadou?
Yeah.
I don't want to waste your screen. We got disconnected with Martin. If the question is directed to him, are you directing it to him specifically, or you want to ask a general question?
I was directing some to him particularly because he does most of the talking.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he's a guest here today. Unfortunately, he's off the line right now. So if you have any other general question, maybe you can put it in, or you can hold fire with the line until hopefully he comes back.
I will ask one probably, and then call back later when he shall return.
Okay. So yeah, okay, go ahead with the other question.
This question is Mr. George supported him about ECOWAS being one-sided, double standard. I want to know, Mr. George, what will you say about some actions that have been taken by the United Nations? For example, the Arab-Israeli conflict, the Gulf War, and even the overthrow of Muammar Gaddafi.
Okay. All right, hold on 1 second. Let me go to the WhatsApp number here. I believe calling international. Are you there, caller? Okay, I think he or she gone out. Let me go back to this number. What's going on here? Okay, callers, are you there?
I'm there.
Yeah. Let me see. Okay, let me just put it. I think let me merge it. Okay, I think everybody should be on here. But George, you want to respond to that?
Yeah. Okay. He talked about what would I say about the Arab conflicts, the overthrow of Gaddafi, the conflicts in the Middle East. But let me tell him one thing. Gaddafi thing was very personal between Gaddafi and that of the United States. Let me carry back. I think the TWA bombing in, I think I was in Beirut or London, by Gaddafi. Then the attempt on George W. Bush Sr., his father's life. Those were the issue that the United States took to go after Gaddafi.
Okay,
now,
you guys, let's do this. Just take notes of these questions. Let me get rid of this, the caller then here. Okay, let's go back here. Hopefully Martin will join us here, even if it's going off. All right, Amadou, just there. Let me go to this other question here. 346 number. Oh, this is another call here. Let me see. 346 number. Are you there? 346. What's your question?
Yeah, Mr. So I'm already here.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. What's your question? What's your name and where you calling from?
I'm Kesalim Gama and I'm calling from Turkey.
Hey, Keso, how are you? Go ahead, my son.
Yeah, I'm doing great. Mine is asking another question. I want to buttress some of the statements that were made by Martin Kollie just 2 seconds. And George.
Ooh.
You know, ECOWAS like George said, and I wouldn't want people comparing negative situations when it comes to making comparisons with Africa and European countries or the Western countries. We shouldn't do that. Let's compare ourselves with them positively and not negatively. Not because they made negative mistakes, so we should do the same thing. Because United Nations made a mistake, so ECOWAS should do the same thing. No. They are far developed. They are way ahead of us. We are fighting to catch up. Let us not be making this negative comparison. Let's compare ourselves with people on a positive note. Please, Liberian.
Okay.
And back to the election issue in Liberia.
Go ahead.
You know, I want to differ with Martin and George where he said the opposition should not be a part of the election and be complaining. I think it is better to be a part of the process while we are complaining. Reason that the ruling party has money. I bet you right now, if the opposition say that ANC, or the CPD just say that I will join from the process, it's not going to stop the ruling party from conducting that election.
The ruling party is going to back all political parties and allow them to be a part of the process. So if you have all 15 political parties being a part of the process, and you have just one party, 4 parties combining into one, and say that we don't want to be a part of the process, the ruling party will justify and say, you can't see all other parties that are part in the process, only one party. Let's be a part of the process while at the same time we are fighting to make sure the right thing is done. But in fact, why would the ruling party be refusing to do a cleanup of the protest rule? What is their protest rule is going to be affecting everybody. If you have nothing,
I don't think the ruling party is not
the country and to respect the rule of law. Remember, it was their Supreme Court in 2017 that stated that this protest rule was messy and that it should be cleaned up the rule to have any other election. Why are we not refusing to do this? Why? So I was allowing party the opposition to be a part of the process while at the same time pushing fire for the best thing to be done. And I just felt bad that they had to cancel the protest. I felt very, very sad that they had to cancel the protest because right now the people are in here, they want the right thing to be done. The support that everyone is receiving is telling that Liberian people are up for change. Or Liberian people to think that
Okay, hold on, hold on. All right, hold on. Let me go to this international caller here. Let's bring caller. Are you there? Caller, are you there? 32 number.
Hello.
Yeah. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Oh no, I will call about. I want to my question was going to Martin Kollie, but he's off.
Okay, no, Martin is here. Go ahead.
I am back now. I am back. Sorry for the interruption. I'm having some technical problems. My apologies to all of the callers.
No, all right. Okay, thank you. Okay, let me go to this other number here, 240 number 62882. And then who was the person? Amadou Martin is back. So 240 number, go ahead. Any question for Martin?
Well, hi, Mr. Zul. This is December Sharp calling from Silver Spring, Maryland.
Hey, Sharp, how are you, my man?
Good. Not particular question. Just wanted to make 2 points. I think, irrespective to this new trend that we are now starting to see in the West African sub-region, it kind of stems from a bigger context. First of all, the current leadership in the U.S. has adopted promotions of African approach. Okay, and if you look at the kind of rhetoric that has been spilled out for the last 4 years from the current leadership in terms of how the image of democracy has been tinted, this has to some extent emboldened the African leaders that have seen that the superpower of the world has adopted this hands-off approach, and the superpower itself, to some degree, is undermining democracy. So this gives those would-be dictators, ammunition to test the waters and, to see how they can subvert and impose themselves upon the people. Another point I want to make is
quickly.
This is going to reflect negatively, because if you compare the Eastern African countries that tend to be more stable and to be attracting more foreign investment, Africa, West Africa particularly, is going back to that stage, where the little democracy that the West African countries managed to develop over the years is now being undermined. So you will find out that more investment will start moving from West Africa, where you have dictators creeping back into office, to East Africa. And if you compare the two right now, you will see that the East African countries are more stable, they're attracting more investment. So this new trend that we're seeing here, I mean, in the long run, is really going to harm the entire West African region.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, let me go to this number here, 617 number 338 now. Martin Kollie is back with us. Go ahead, caller. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Yeah, brother Ziazo. Alfonso, this is Emmanuel Jackson.
Okay, Mr. Jackson. Yeah, all right, good. How are you? Welcome, go ahead.
Not bad, good. Good afternoon to Brother Martin and Brother George. Yeah, last night I was reading my subscription of Foreign Affairs magazine, and I just lay out we are on our own. Liberia, Ivory Coast, and Guinea, we are on our own. From the article I read called Destruction Presently, it described in that article that since Trump came to power, he has completely dislodged all effort to negotiate in dispute in the world. And as you know from the Liberian Civil War, during the Clinton years, about 24 to $30 million were given through Jerry Rawlings and others to support the refugees in Ghana. And the West had a good posture towards negotiating the peace settlement, culminating into the CPA in Ghana and all these agreements. But all these things have been completely disrupted by Trump. So we are on our own. And like General Colin Powell said when Taylor was being removed, that this was the last opportunity for Liberia to be able to resolve itself and act responsibly to govern themselves. So this is what we are seeing playing out here in Liberia, in Guinea, and in the Ivory Coast. This is serious. We need to negotiate as people. Yeah, brothers. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, so meaning is not just as we think is within though, it has external forces that is attached to this whole thing. That's how you see it, right?
Exactly. Because once the West is not engaged, because you have to remember the AU and ECOWAS, all these organizations, they get their monetary support from the West,
right,
to back them up. So if those funds are cut off, if those support are cut off, and we end up with this kind of dictatorial leadership, we are in serious trouble.
Okay, thank you so much. That's a view and opinions expressed here. That's not a view and opinions of management. Amandu, are you still there? You say you have a question for Martin. Martin is back.
I'm here, Mr. So. I said I have a couple of questions. For Martin.
Yeah, but at least at least make it two, so other people will ask. Yeah, don't go ahead. Martin is here. He's listening.
And I have little advice.
Why you want to ask me all the questions?
Martin always accused the president if somebody lives in the water or somebody goes hungry and somebody has brain, he always says it's the president. He's on record for that. I want to know, he accused the government of reducing the AFL salary from 13 million to 1.9 million. I want to know, is he aware of the salary harmonization that took place? We saved the government millions of dollars. Is he aware of that? Secondly, is he also aware of some millions of dollars that were scandaled by officials of the AFL? For example, Samuka, which the case is still hanging out there. Is he also aware of that? Thirdly, can he show any tangibles that the $13 million budget of the AFL with the $13 million budget, can he show any tangibles that they did in the 12 years of their rule? And now my little statement here is that what I want to tell him, my little advice rather, is that.
Wait, hold on, Amadou. Don't make the cake and you alone eat it now. You already finished. Let a man answer your question. So you feel satisfied, then you can advise him. So hold your peace. Let me give you the chance. This is a kind of this is the kind of conversation we like to have here. So Mr. Kollie, are you there? Martin?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. I'm here. Amadou said you were not talking until you could come back.
I've been listening to Amadou.
Make sure to maintain him.
I've been listening to Amadou. He is more of a pro-regime fanatic, but I respect his opinion because it is his right to express one. So for the sake of this program, Amadou follows me wherever I go. On any show, he usually makes derogatory comments. However, I'm going to respond to him still. Now, let's get to the issue of salary harmonization and salary cut. Probably Amadou does not know the difference between salary harmonization and salary cut. What went on is predominantly described as salary cut and not salary harmonization. Salary harmonization usually focuses on two things. Number one, the breaching of salaries or the breaching of the disparity of salaries, and number two, equity, to ensure equity. How can you cut the salaries and allowances of military personnel? How can you cut the salaries and allowances of nurses? How can you cut the salaries and allowances of public school teachers? Yet you call that salary harmonization. Does that make sense to you, Mr. So? On the average, probably Hamandu doesn't know this. On the average, an AFL personnel or a police officer or a public school teacher or a health worker, either of them makes 180 on the average, 180 United States dollars.
That's to bring everything to equal.
Let Hamandu make reference. Come again?
No, I said just basically to bring it to equilibrium so that it will be equal, and not you and myself doing the same job and you making more than I do or I'm making. That's not harmonization.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So for instance, on the average, AFL personnel, police officer, public school teacher, health workers, they make around 180 US dollars per month. So how can you cut 180 down, again calling it salary harmonization, instead of going up? Because when inflation is increasing in a country, you don't cut salaries and allowances of civil servants. You don't, especially in a country like Liberia where hardship is increasing. Because what it does, eventually it reduces purchasing power. And you undermine the welfare and well-being of those civil servants. Are you aware that they cut down the salaries and allowances of these civil servants? So that's not salary harmonization, Amandu. It's called salary cut. Salary cut. You should be cutting the salaries and allowances of the office of Mr. Weah, of the office of Cloud Weah. Look at the office of Mr. Weah, for example, the Ministry of State for Presidential Affairs. It's getting 10.8 million. They increased the budget from 9 million to 10.8 million. So the officers of higher ups and big shots in government have more money than civil servants. So why will you cut the budget of the armed forces of Liberia? Already 13 million is not enough. Then you cut it way down to 1.9 million. Does that make sense? So you undermine the logistical, technical, and manpower capacity of the AFL. But Amandu doesn't know this. Amandu doesn't know that. He doesn't understand the threats that are involved with the decision of the government to continuously cut down the budget of these security apparatuses.
Okay, folks, for those of you with me, just hold on. Let me go back to give Amandu a fair share if he has anything before I go to the next person. Amandu, are you there? Amandu?
And yes.
Okay, is that explanation, is it satisfactory?
Martin did not answer my question. He's an economist. I'm an engineer. But he always deviating from the fight. His explanation of salary harmonization is not what unfolding, and it's not what represents salary harmonization. The past government that he kept supporting or keeps supporting always used to get themselves involved in some kinds of mismanagement. For example, you have 2 sergeants in the military, people of the same rank, or 2 government officials of the same qualification, one making $2 and one making 10 cents. And that was drawn down to an equilibrium, where as if this man and Mr. X and Y have the same qualification and same jobs, they should take the same salary. Mr. X should not take $2 and Mr. X take 10 cents. And that's what salary harmonization is about. And that's what the government did. That's why.
So you are more an economist than an engineer.
So let me just address him quickly, because he doesn't understand what he's saying. You know, he's not even specific about his concern. He's talking about somebody was making 10 cents while the other person was making this one. He's not even specific. And I challenge him to tell me how much we have saved as a result of his quote-unquote harmonization. What was going on was not harmonization, Amandu. There's a bill, there's a law called Decent Work Bill or Decent Work Act. There's a minimum wage in that act for all civil servants. And the minimum wage is around 180 per month. So how can you cut down 180 the minimum wage? Then you're talking about salary harmonization.
Okay,
I challenge him. And number two, I have not supported any government as clean. He needs to get his facts right, Mr. So, and you need to tell him that I have not supported any government in the history of my advocacy. To say, oh, I'm standing for this government, or I'm supporting this government, or I'm promoting this government. I challenge him to provide the proof. You know, when people come to this platform, they need to bring facts and not fiction.
Exactly. All right.
They shouldn't base their thoughts on personal emotions and assumptions that are not pointing in the direction of facts. So Amadou has missed the entire point. Probably he needs to do some more research.
Okay, let me go back here to the line here.
You are talking, I did not talk. I'm talking, started talking.
Hold on. The people. Yeah, what happened to our Yeah.
Can I come here a little bit?
Hold on 1 second. We gotta stabilize it here. We like to do it, in a quiet and so that the audience, for the respect of the audience. Okay, Amadou, we're not going to be in a battle. Maybe we'll try to arrange a town hall style where all of these. Maybe we'll try to ask Martin here. We'll do like a town hall style. Then of course we can have enough quick time to do this. Okay, 30 seconds, Amadou. To be fair to you, 30 seconds. Make your final statement, so I'll go to the next callers. We are running out of time.
Thank you, Mr. So. My point cannot be made in 30 seconds, if possible, hours. But because we don't have the time, let's make the world to know that Martin protest is not our solution in Liberia. Every time you come and talk, you end it with protest. We need to put this behind us. Please, don't keep preaching protest. Don't keep preaching violence. When somebody goes missing, let the rule of law. When anything goes wrong in Liberia is a country of law, not men.
All right, thank you. I gotta go.
The president without evidence. Thank you, Mr. So.
All right, thank you so much. Okay.
Now, Mr. So, let me respond to his protest concern quickly. I beg you.
Hold on, you come to here. Let me just deal with it. Last two callers, and then I will come to you. I will be coming to you guys. Just hold on 1 second.
I just want to name his protest concerning the board before we get
right here.
Thank you so much for being patient. What's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm Kevin Gaba again for the second time on the line. Let me just enter and do the line.
Okay.
You know, so it is sad that we will live in the Western world, enjoy the benefit of democracy, but then we are depriving our people back home of democracy. I just listened to the brother on the line, Amadou, who is trying to condemn Martin. I don't think that Martin is saying are in his favor. Martin is speaking something that is benefiting the country directly. Because today when we working right here in this country, there are people who working in the same office doing the same job, but will not make the same amount because of experience. No matter how you try to hammer now, it is never going to be possible for everybody to have the same amount of money, making the same amount of pay because they are doing the same job. No. There are people on that job who are still on the job longer. Why is it true that you and they are doing the same job? But they'll make more money than you based on the experience they have, based on the time they have spent on the job. Let's make that clear. That's what the answer family. For what you say, Mr. Pro, you just take a man salary from 13 million to 1 million. Come on, man. What is wrong with
that's what's so happening in NEC, for which they have the problem from $20 million to 7 million.
Simple logic, Mr. Pro. Simple logic. ABC logic. How can you take them out of $13 to $1? Then you come here and defend that? We shouldn't be doing it to our people. We'll come on this platform. Even if you are in favor of the government, say things that are in line. You know the government is trying to defend.
Okay, let me go to the next.
$10 million in his office. The people are making close to $7 million. When you have civil servants are making pillows, then you come on this platform and defend these things there.
Okay. All right. Okay, so let's listen that for tomorrow. Let me go to Battleground State, Iowa here to see this caller, and then I'll be going back to my guests, Kollie and the other folks. 515 number 4171. Are you there?
Yeah. This is Kizzy.
Yeah. Go ahead quickly, Kizzy. How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay. Thank you for giving me the opportunity, to provide some, discussion on this platform. The first thing, let me just say hi to my young comrade of Martin Kollie. A young man needs to be applauded because he's doing well. I've been following him all over, and the young comrade is doing well. He's raising a lot of issues and they are realities. And let me just inform you that some of us, we voted for CDC, we campaigned for CDC, we brought CDC to power. But it does not mean that our conscience should be buried in CDC. No. So now I don't have a party attachment, but rather I have Liberia attachment. So I take Liberia first, therefore the party issue. And that's why people say party first. I said no, Liberia first. Let me just look at some other key issues. The last time I listened to the Finance Minister on Samuel 12.
Let's get it. Let's run it quickly because we are running out of time now. Before go ahead quickly.
The two, yeah. But there are other key issues. There are one or two things I want to raise so that I mean everybody should be aware. Because so that we can continue to be giving blind loyalty to the government. Look at Sewa John we have met Sewa at 40,000 person working, 40,000 people, and on the Sewa payroll, on government payroll. But at the end of the Finance Minister last time he said about 70,000 now. So when he brought about harmonization, it's not harmonization. He cut the salary so that the people they put in the system because they want for every CDCN to be satisfied to take in the system. It doesn't work that way because the government employment is not the only it will not be the only employment in the country. That's why they should be fighting for the private sector to be open because the private sector will be able to absorb the other people they do government alone. So from 40,000 to 70,000, you see that kind of disparity? The wide gap there. So they force to possible salary so that they can be able to accommodate the balance 30,000 they added there. So it's not harmonization. I give a mountain, it's forcing salary. From 40,000 to 70,000, he must be in all the payroll for non-government payroll. Let's look at the issue. There's a lot of issues I'm trying to raise in the last time happened. Most of them, they have come is the University of Liberia. They said they have free school. Why do you declare the University of Liberia free school? When the University of Liberia at the time was asking you to pay them $27 million to run perfectly the institution so that effort quality can be put into that institution.
Okay.
So you chose to pay them $16.1 million, $16.1 million, out of $27 million, they say declare free school. So at the end of the day, declare free school, no quality. No quality in the institution. Teachers are not taking pay. At the end of the day, there's no quality. So that free school is not, for me, I don't think it will be free school, but they did that to put a school in a deployment condition so that the student will not be able to get the quality. Okay. We see the international school around here. We are in school in America, we see the full school. And that's the step wrong university, they need to put quality there. So that free school issue, for me, that is still very wrong.
All right, thank you, Martin. Okay, thank you so much, KZ. Let me go to my guest here, and I think we're going to do. Martin, are you there? Martin, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, let me just respond to a few concerns.
Yeah, go ahead quickly. Go ahead.
Yeah, basically, it is important to say that Amadou and probably the caller after him, they don't really understand what's going on within the financial sector of the country because they are talking about salary harmonization. However, they cannot clearly tell you what we have saved in terms of monetary value as a result of their quote-unquote salary harmonization. Okay, if you're claiming that we have saved some money as a result of salary harmonization, why can last time I checked, Mr. So, staffers of the legislature were protesting because of arrears. The last time I checked, staffers of the judiciary were protesting because of arrears. The last time I checked, staffers of the health sector, health workers were on strike because of hazard pay and other.
Okay, I think we just lose Martin.
The network from Martin not seems to be favorable.
Well, I think there are a lot of interruption here. Pa George, I think you are responding to something. Okay, I think he's back. Let me just see. Okay, yeah, let me see. Martin is back. I mean, are they hacking your?
Yeah. So basically, hello, are you getting me?
Yeah, loud and clear. Go ahead.
Yeah, so basically, this entire salary harmonization debate is a myth. It's a farce on the part of the regime to deceive our people, especially civil servants. Because when you talk about salary harmonization, when you talk about savings, when you talk about surpluses, it should reflect in the lives of the people, especially those who are working in the government, civil servants. But the people are crying for their pay, no money. Because if you are saying there is surplus, you should be able to pay civil servants then. You are unable to pay civil servants, instead you are cutting down the salaries and allowances of those people. They're talking about free education, for example. You're talking about free education, but you are increasing the school permit fees for schools, private schools. You are increasing the fees. How can you be talking about free education? You are increasing the permit fees for schools around the country. Does that make sense to anybody? Look at the situation of our health facilities around the country. You talk about stimulus package. How far is the stimulus package? How far is the food distribution? You borrowed 30 million from the IMF just to distribute few bags of rice. How far is that process? The government lacks vision, Mr. So.
Oh, okay. Pa George, go ahead. I think
yeah.
every time he's on his, even on his own podcast, that is trying to interrupt it. Go ahead, Pa George.
Yeah, let me just respond to Mr. Amado. Let me tell him to check his facts. He spoke about the AFL money that was used by by the Ministry of AFL. But here's the record. That money was not government money. That money was saving, taken from the AFL or from the AFL personnel to be saved as a retirement fund. So Brandon Samoga went and took that money and used it, say for the agency. When President Weah, when that money issue came up, President Weah said that he would take responsibility of that money. I think 1 million or something that he President Weah was going to take responsibility. Now here is the thing. He mentioned about Vanessa in court. After war, when Vanessa refused to join the CDC, that when now the government came back to say they are prosecuting Vanessa for mismanagement of the AFF funds. So, Mr. Dakaboy, get your facts straight. Secondly, he went too far talking about the Arab conflict. Mr. Dakaboy, that is not an issue. We are talking about the sub-region, which is Liberia, Guinea, and Africa that make up the ECOWAS country. That's what we are discussing. If you want to discuss international politics, then we can do that another time. But the topic here is what is affecting Liberia, Africa, Guinea, and the rest of our country in the region, and what will lead to. That's what we are talking about. So don't bring in the Arab conflict. The Arab conflict been there for the some more year, almost 60 years now. Don't bring in that one to Liberia and Guinea. The ECOWAS thing we are talking about is about protecting the democracy that we are trying now to build. But we see it now slide back to dictatorship. And this is what we are afraid of. And that's what we're asking Liberians and other people around the region, young people, to stand up. Because we don't want to go back to dictatorship. We are making progress. Then they want to take us 3 steps back. And these are the signs. Look at the airplane. Yesterday, they talk about President, we are launching airlines. The government of Liberia launching airlines.
Yeah,
who can explain to us?
We now have Air Lone Star.
Okay, let me bring him back here. Mike Down.
Yes.
You are in Liberia. What are the information filtering in there with respect to this airline here? What do we need to know?
Well, the airline was launched on Friday of last week, and President Weah said, I mean, on the executive mansion, it's also reporting that this particular airline has been one of President Weah's dreams since becoming president. I mean, from his youth day, he has been thinking that the old Air Liberia comes back. So this time around, he was happy to have launched this particular airline called Air Lone Star.
Is the plane in question, is it in Liberia?
Well, I mean, we did not see a particular plane, but the way things are, I don't know whether the legislature is also aware what this particular who's going to operate this particular airline or airplane. So that particular information is not yet known to us, even including to the public, as to how this Air Lone Star came to be. Much was not been said about it, even during the launch, actually.
I'm concerned because going across, leaving Liberia, flying, going over another country's airspace, and that's the money. Do we have the money for the upkeep? Is the plane visible? Is it visible in in Liberia. Look, I have a few mini labs here. Martin.
I've been photos, but I don't know what are this at the launch. Though I did not attend the launch, but a few of my colleagues, journalists who did attend the launch, they haven't said to me whether an aircraft was actually on the airport bearing that, but we haven't seen photograph of it, and also some cars, vehicles that will be operated by airlines and so forth. But again, much information are not being given on this actually.
All right. As usual, we'll try to reach out with the Ministry of Information for authenticity and more information. I have little time left here. Martin,
I have all the information on that, Mr. So.
I know.
I have all the information on that.
Believe me, I've been saying it, but we also like to go on the other side. But the unfortunate part, they just do not like to make themselves available. And this is why all of these speculations and people can go. But there are a few things I want to touch on here before we wrap up. You're talking about the ruling party, new malicious. First of all, let me just say, I'm not a fan of this malicious group. Even when you were at the University of Liberia, the manner in which students were assembling, they were expressing their voices, but the context in which the kind of uniform style, it took me back to South Africa during the days of apartheid, when these people were fighting for a special cause. But it has become a tradition, the proliferations of these malicious groups. Martin, let me ask you now, you are an advocate. Are you still in support of these malicious group? We condemn CDC for whatever group they call Sabu Unit, this, that. The CPP, they has come up with their Solidarity Brigade. That gives me a reflection during the civil crisis when I see people wearing these red barrel who are not uniform national state security personnel. It brings fright. It brings fright to me. It brings a lot of fear. It brings trauma. Why should the opposition, if they know the creations of these Cobra, whatever unit that CDC are, which of course we have seen them, they're being denied, they are not existing. Why should the opposition follow the patterns of the ruling party, knowing fully well the creations of this malicious group? It's just crazy. It just creates more security tensions in the country. Why should they adopt those systems, such a system? And will you now, in the advocacy business for social justice, will you call for the dismemberment of these malicious groups?
Quite frankly, you got me?
Loud and clear, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. When you study Marxist-Leninist philosophy, those who have studied Marxist-Leninist philosophy, there is a difference between misguided social club and an ideological movement. The CDC is not an ideological movement. The CDC is a misguided social club of Turkish elements and malicious groups like the Sabu unit, the Zebra unit, and the latest of these, the Moscow Empire, right? These are malicious gang groups only intended to provoke internal insurgency, according to Karl Marx, according to Hegel, according to Mao Zedong. You know, if you study this historical revolutionary literature, you would clearly define CDC in a bracket of a misguided social movement and not an ideological movement. The Student Unification Party, for example, SUP of the University of Liberia, is an ideological movement. The Solidarity Brigade of the CPP is an ideological movement. These movements are ideological far more than the CDC itself. So the point I'm making is,
what is it?
If you read about totalitarianism, right? There are 4 components or elements of totalitarianism. One of the components is internal insurgency to instill fear and intimidation in the population so that the government abrogates onto itself excessive power. Now, what the CDC is doing with those malicious groups, they have ex-rebel generals in those groups. They have street talks in those groups. They have intransigent elements in those groups. And the mandate of those groups is just to terrorize perceived political enemies, undermine the peace of the country, provoke violence, pre and post-electoral violence, so that the CDC remains in power. But look at SUP. Look at the role SUP has played. SUP has pursued social justice, academic freedom, and peace. Look at the role of the Solidarity Brigade, for example. They have been calling for a paradigm shift in regime as a result of the SSs that are prevalent. I mean, the SSs that are prevalent. So I am saying to you, nobody should think that the CDC militia groups are similar to SUP or are similar to the CPP Solidarity Brigade. That would be a wrong assumption. That assumption would be inaccurate. But what I have to say,
they resemble, but the characteristics
military uniform.
But Martin, let me hold you there.
Why are they wearing paramilitary uniform?
But wearing beret, wearing red beret, wearing khaki, out of the processes of ideological movements. They are regalias, they are paraphernalia of revolutionary movements. You know, it is not a crime to wear red beret. It is not a crime to wear khaki. It is not a crime to wear boot. No, it's not a crime. They are emblems or they are semblances of the struggle for social justice, academic freedom, and peace. And people need to delineate or clearly establish the difference between an ideological movement and misguided social club like CDC.
No. Martin, let me push back. Martin, let me push back on this, what you are saying. What guarantee do we have if the CPP come to power that the guy will not turn to the scene today that, or you see CCTV behaving? What is the guarantee? And secondly, you say it is not a crime, but it is not a crime. But here's the thing here. That tend to show more militant style of a leadership in the country where people have gone through 14-year civil war. Is that the only means that people, I'm not talking about a student from the University of Liberia, but in the political institution, is that the only means to identify the ideological movement by wearing all the brigades and things?
Now, let me say this, Mr. Josh. The best way to engage a newborn dictator is for ideological brigades to be established in the context of Marxist-Leninist doctrine. No one should deceive you that Mr. Weah will leave power just like that. No one should deceive you. Mr. Weah is a black fascist. You will not leave,
what I'm asking you,
you will not leave power like that. So that's what I'm saying. You cannot engage a dictator diplomatically. I am not also promoting violence. No. I'm saying you can engage a dictator ideologically. You can engage a dictator ideologically. And the formation of CPP Brigade, is ideological. It's philosophical. It is intended to promote political consciousness so that the population becomes informed about making rational decisions. So it is not like the Sabu unit. It is not like the Sabu unit or the risotto violence, gangsterism.
Martin, hold on 1 second. Let Pajoy go there.
You are saying this. The guy from the CPP, Baron, what's his name? Baron Brown. Baron Brown came on this program and said they are willing to take any action violently to protect the institution. Now, what do you say to that? If you are saying that this guy of that CDC,
any action in the context of what?
Hold on.
Baron may have spoken in context.
Hold on. You are saying that CDC are taught they have all the brigades, and you on the other side, the same brigade being organized and leader of that brigade speaking in the same term. So my question again to you: what guarantee do we have if the CCC come to power that this brigade will not spring out again tomorrow to start hunting people who disagree with them? What is the guarantee when the chairman of the movement is speaking in that room?
And two, Martin.
Let me just respond to Mr. Josh quickly. The thing, Mr. Josh, is tune does not necessarily suggest action. It's just a mood.
There's no action.
You know, in the context
of action.
Yeah, it can.
Okay.
Tell me I like the mode of verb you use can. It can. Yeah, I agree with you. You use the mode of verb can. Thank God. It can. Proper ability. But I am saying Baron may have spoken in context. What I have known about the CPP brigade.
Let me take.
Let me respond to your question. You asked what's the guarantee, right?
Yeah.
Let him respond.
Let me respond
before we. Yeah,
let me respond to your question. You asked what's the guarantee that the CPP brigade will not behave like those Turkish groups. In the first place, CPP brigade is not a militia group. No. CPP brigade is just a solidarity group of the CPP. It's just a solidarity group. And solidarity means giving support to a particular institution for a cause. Right? Okay. So I am saying to you, the CPP brigade is more tolerant. The CPP brigade is more mature. The CPP brigade is more tolerant. The CPP brigade is more mature. But if the country begins to transition from democracy to dictatorship, Liberians will not sit and watch Mr. We are rigging the democratic process of the country. No. I guess you two will not sit and watch that. I am not calling for violence. I am not saying we should use belligerent means to get Mr. Weah out of office. But the people have got the power to decide the fate of Mr. Weah in the CDC at any given time. And if an institution like the CPP brigade emerges as the author upon which our people are going to move into history, so be it. That is what dialectics say to us. But my point is, there is no comparison between the CPP brigade and Sabu unit and Zebra unit and the latest one that just formed Moscow Empire. Those are Turkish rebellious elements within the CPP that continue to undermine the very values and tenets of our democracy. So there's no comparison here. So I can guarantee you, I'm now a spokesperson of the CPP, but I know some of the folks there. I know their intent. I know what they have in mind for Liberia. CPP brigade is not going to be like those Turkish establishments that tend to provoke internal insurgencies at the expense of our democracy. No, I can tell you that for a fact.
Mr. Kollie, I respect your view. I respect your opinions. I hosted Barra Brown, who is somebody that I know very well, and he just didn't articulate. He made it crystal clear it's a militia group that is willing to. And when I follow the history of a Solidarity Brigade in Colombia, border with America, their motive is just the same. And I strongly believe this is a part of a political ploy also by the opposition. We frown on heavily the creations of CDC, having these organizations, the Zebra or whatever unit. So it seems to be the same type of political ploy now by this opposition because Jefferson Kollie is there. They see it as a way to elevate their political endeavor to get them to go to state power. That is wrong. The opposition is not setting a good footing. CDC did it wrongly. We frown on them. They're creating this group that they do not, first of all, they do not have control over them. That I can say for sure. They do not have control over these people. At the end of the day, they will start behaving the same way we get Jefferson Kollie and his people. If CPP were to come to state power today, they same very group call themselves brigade, they will also believe in that group. So if the opposition is to see themselves as alternative, CDC did it, and it's wrong yesterday, it's wrong today. I think they should champion a new code. It's all like making the old wine in the new bottle, try to come in different share. I think that's something I disagree with. But quickly here, we are out of time. In 10 minutes, I will be out of here. Something catches my attention yesterday here. Hopefully, we're going to find a time here. I foresee something more or less popping up again. This was an Instagram tweet by the sitting vice president of the Republic of Liberia. And for those of you can't read fair, let me just quickly go through it here. That's Vice President Joel Howard Taylor. I tweeted this yesterday when CDC were having it. Joel Howard Taylor on her Instagram post. Oh, death, where is that sting? Oh, death, where is your victory? So Mambutu is gone and people are moving around without even mourning him for a day. Yeah, what a sacrifice. Only what is done for God is permanent to him. To him who is to whom he is wise, be advised. Pa Josh.
Yeah.
I want you to Martin, you're going to wrap it up, and then maybe Mike wants to go here. This was an Instagram tweet from the sitting vice president of the Republic of Liberia. And to some extent, I want to agree and validate our talking point here. You know, when you are friends, when you are part of the government, when something of this or such a tragic, I think it happens before, and history has repeated itself with all of things that is happening, the conspiracy, the talking point all over the place. This is the guy who is leading your infrastructure development initiative on your government, right? And he has and we see market dedication, this and that, all going on. This tweet is coming from the sitting vice president of the Republic of Liberia. I forecast a huge gap and potential political risk again will come in. What do you make of this vice president Instagram post?
Look, Mr. So first, let me
thank
say,
you, Mr. So,
Martin, Martin, you hold your peace after you will wrap it up. You will wrap it up before we go off on the program.
Mr. So,
I'm not getting you.
Are you hearing me, Martin? Martin,
I'm not getting you. Go ahead again. Come again.
You were close there. You will make your final remarks before we go off.
Oh, okay, all right, okay.
Yeah, you make a remark. Okay, go ahead.
Right.
Go ahead.
Okay,
go ahead, Amos.
Mr. So, I said it before. It is sad for anybody for that matter to die, and people don't express sympathy, empathy for that person. More especially the late minister. This man was a minister in the EXILE government. He died. And you don't see anything from the government to exhibit sympathy for this man personally. If they don't want to do it for the former, but for the role he played in the government, you don't see anything like that. And this lead me again to our late friend, J. Language Law. You saw the same thing. But look at the representative, the late representative.
The CDC pay homage to preferential treatment, of course, is on an increase in the CDC. Okay. But we're just hoping that government, like the way they treated other officials who have faced similar situation in the past, that the late minister is treated and given befitting burial, like the late Muna Peno and others officials from directly from the CDC, that's the Congress of Democratic Change.
Okay. All right, time is Martin, let me go quickly to you. Martin is off. I don't know what's going on with his line here, and we're going to be bringing it to a closing here very shortly. But again, we're going to be having a special program here of Minister Mambutu Vlad friends, people that know him. I intend not to incite myself because Mambutu is a friend, is a brother. I am part of Mambutu. I have said that numerous times, but I was just shocked yesterday. Did you see this coming? Well, is somehow because especially with all of the circumstances, information surrounding the death, what happens, what it happens. I've been knowing Mambutu. We stay under the same household for years in the 80s when he left Bishop Julie High School, graduated and moved to Monrovia before he became active. He was involved in student politics. He was the student leader. He was one time candidate for SAME, the students organizations right there at the university. But our time is already slipping here. Let me go to Martin here for his final comment. Martin, are you there?
Yeah, Mr. So, I'm here.
Yeah, okay, go ahead. I was the tweet from the vice president. What do you make of that?
All right, okay, thank you. Very important. The first thing is the message from the vice president was a coded language. She didn't decode, but we managed to have decoded. The vice president said, Mambutu is gone. Hey, yeah, what a sacrifice. To him who is wise, be advised.
Be advised.
The vice president was indirectly speaking to the power that be and encouraging us to be very wise, because these times are evil and difficult to comprehend. Mobutu died not from stroke, and I'm not going to mention my words here, because before the vice president could even release this coded message, I broke the news a day before even people got to know that Mobutu was dead. I broke the news on my page that Minister Mobutu is dead. And the next day it was announced that he was dead. Because you see, Mr. Zoe, where I sit, a lot of people don't understand where I sit. Where I sit, I get a lot of information from different sources that are very credible. You know, and nobody should deceive you, or nobody should deceive the public that former Minister Mobutu Yimpan died from stroke. No, he didn't die from stroke. He was poisoned. He was poisoned with cyanide. Cyanide is a chemical substance that spies usually use against their prey. When you use cyanide on somebody, it's difficult to trace. It's difficult to trace. So Mobutu died from cyanide. The medical doctors at Kollie performed 2 different brain surgeries on Mobutu. All of those surgeries failed because cyanide usually destroys or attacks the heart, the brain, and the lung. It destroys the entire brain cell, the heart cell, and all of the lung cells. So the message of the vice president was very clear. How can you guys treat Mobutu in this manner? The man died, former public work minister, former senator, and you cannot even announce a moment of silence, or you cannot even announce a day for mourning. You are busy with your usual political activities, campaign, and you are not even giving attention to the fact that this man served you, he served your government, he served the country, he's dead, so we have to respect him. You know, that was all the vice president was saying. That was all the vice president was saying. And she was saying that to the president, along with his cohort of thieves. You know, who cares less? Look at the death toll of late. The death toll is increasing. 4 auditors, professional auditors, got gruesomely murdered. And that's why they don't want me to say it. They don't want me to say that they hire assassins to kill those people. They don't want me to say these things. But we know what's happening behind the scene. You know, 3 children are currently trafficked and kidnapped by Simose, a partner to the government. You know, 2 more persons just died on Friday. A journalist in Banga got shot by unknown men. Look at what's happening in the country. In less than 2 weeks, 12 to 13 persons have mysteriously died. And you expect us to remain silent? As I speak to you right now, let me just inform the Liberian people that the UN Human Rights Council will be meeting tomorrow on Liberia to re-examine the human rights record of Liberia. Tomorrow in Geneva is on their website. They will be meeting tomorrow just on Liberia to discuss human rights issues in Liberia. So it's a very grave concern to the world. What is taking place in Liberia? Our people are dying. Innocent lives are being snatched away under the leadership of President Weah. It's unfortunate. It's really, really unfortunate, and it's scary. If you go to Liberia right now, Mr. So, by 7 p.m. or by 6 p.m., nobody is in the street. Ask Mark. Mark knows that very well. So the population is frightened. That's a result of insecurity.
I think the last time I said, they said I'm lying. Professor Zagro said I was lying. Mr. So, on the program last week.
No, you weren't.
Well, my man.
You heard, Mr. Josh. I get report every day from Liberia. By 6, 7 o'clock, nobody's in the street. Everybody's afraid.
My man, Liberia wants to.
Go home and our people are dying like flies. This was never the agreement in 2017 between the people and the CDC. There was never the agreement. The agreement was when we gave you power, you gave us basic social services. You protect us. You gave us security. You gave us safe drinking water. You gave us quality education. You gave us employment opportunities. That was the social contract signed between the people and CDC. The people didn't say, okay, when we gave you power, you kill us. Look at the number of deaths just in a relatively short period. And there's no justice for those victims. The government is playing politics because the government is a partner to this disaster and tragedy in the country. So nobody should deceive our people. Mobutu did not die from stroke. He died from poison. He died from cyanide, C-Y-A-N-I-D-E. And let the public be informed. I see them unleashing few of their backing elements on social media to say, oh, Martin Kollie is lying. I've watched a few of them. You know, Martin Kollie, where are their fights? I challenge them. Call them so we can debate, Mr. So. Call them so we can debate and we'll bring the fight or we'll adduce the facts. Call them. Let's debate the issues relative to the retrogressive nature of Liberia under President Weah. Call them. Let's come and debate. You know, they will just sit and talk all day long. Martin Kollie, the president, he lied. That's all. Where are your facts? I have provided my facts. Look at what you are talking about again, the aircraft. Look at the airline, Gold Star Airline. It's fake. Look at all of the facts, figures, analysis, and references I uploaded on my page about this Gold Star Airline. It's fake. Mr. Weah goes to our RIA International Airport. He goes to delegate a plane. You cannot even see the plane. The plane is invisible. That Gold Star Airline is bogus. It's fake. They were chased out of Ghana in 2017. The release is on my page. There is nothing called Gold Star Airline in Ghana. There are currently 30 airlines in Ghana. I uploaded all of those airlines on my page. So nobody should be deceived. Gold Star is saying they are partner to Ethiopian Airlines. Go on the website of Ethiopian Airlines. There is no partner called Gold Star. No partner. Okay. But they are only institutionalizing people through Gold Star because they want to get involved in money laundering. And I exposed them during my latest podcast. The podcast is on my page. And they are unsettled. That's why they are sending all to the president. That's all they can say. That's all they can say. So Liberia is in trouble. And like you are saying, they don't really know what it costs to run a plane, an aircraft. Let me just get them the cost before I close. To run an aircraft, to operate a Boeing aircraft that this quote-unquote Gold Star Airline is talking about, it will cost Liberia $8,120 United States dollars per hour to operate the aircraft we are talking about here. Does Liberia have $8,120 per hour to operate an aircraft? You don't even have money to pay civil servants. You don't even have money to run the government. You're talking about $8,120 per hour just to run an aircraft. So that aircraft, that invisible and imaginary aircraft, is just a scam to facilitate money laundering in Liberia under George Weah. And when I say these things and provide my facts, they run all around. Martin Kollie doesn't like the country. Call them for a debate so we debate the facts. It is about Liberia right now. We will not compromise our people's interests because of a common footballer who has turned into a dictator. We will not do that.
All right. Okay, well, folks, I got to leave it there. Like I said, Mambutu is a brother, is a friend. Before he even came into public service, Mambutu and I, people that I know the story, and I've said it, I made a full disclosure, even during the interview, people from Ghana's view, Stephen Tower Estate, when he moved to Liberia, I'm talking about where it is, there was no George Weah and who all those folks around. When he graduated from Bishop Julie High School, moved into Morovia, Stephen Tower Estate, house number 63, Mambutu Nyipa and I, he one of those that get me Minister Kai Gerald, Amos Clay Talley, formerly at Liberia Water and Sewer Corporation. Those are the people. Even up to his demise, I was one of the first person got that call that early morning. The call was placed to Minister Musa F. Dane to elect the government at Nyipa. So the whole story about it is right in my hand. We will do everything possibly he can. The daughter is right here, the family, everybody. If whatever happens, I think it would be good for the government. Hopefully we can get that medical report. It should be published. I don't think he's dead already. That would be a good record setting and transparency on the part of government, and not just only him. Where there is some sort of a link, suspicious link or conspiracy, the government has the obligation to step beyond the borderline and do what is right. Folks, gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for being part of this program. Martin, I'm looking forward to having you here some days again. Amos, George, I want to thank you so much. We extend an invitation to Deputy Police Chief for Public Affairs, Moses Carter. He promised to be here. And I hope I take him for his
work. But Mr. So, before I can leave, please, the next time you are inviting me, let it be a debate. I don't just want to appear here alone.
Oh, okay.
Let's have the facts and counterfacts.
When you say debate, who you
I challenge Moses Carter. A lot of the information Moses Carter has been provided do not conform with the criminal justice system of the country. I challenge Eugene Fagon to an economic debate. Let's discuss the economy. Let's discuss the budget. I challenge any one of them to issues strengthening the country and how we can find resolution to some of those issues.
Let me just
thank you very much for the opportunity. May God bless Liberia. May God save the people of the country.
Yeah, let me just tell you before you go. Eugene Fagon was a good friend of LPR when he waged a campaign against the opposition for CDC. But I have numerous times, many occasions, messages here to invite Minister Fagon to have this conversation. He has not answered that, so there's no indication to know what I use. Someone just called me.
You can invite Kairos Gray. You can invite Carlos Gray, or you can invite the Minister of Finance for us to discuss the macroeconomic issues and fundamentals of the country.
I wish this report I have extended. Even the Darius DeLon, who I went to a house overnight in Bannersville, they are no longer people that are willing to talk to us here again. So that's the whole thing here. Let me see. I'm getting the kind of call here. Pa George, I'm going to put you on screen. I'm going to mute my button right here because this is
Yes.
to be. I'm getting some messages from you. Be conducted as a town hall star meeting, but right after that we're going to have a post discussion on this here. Okay, let us just get to the issue here on ground. Our understanding, the Ministry of Public Works, Ministry of Rural Development and Public Works, and they have been condensed together as the Ministry of Public Works, which you are the Chief Executive Officer there. Is that information, is that true, Honorable Minister?
Well, yes, the information is accurate, and in fact, I was chair of the Senate committee in the legislature when the amalgamation was done. That is the amalgamation of the Ministry of Rural Development and that of the Ministry of Public Works. So yes, that is true. Today we now have the Ministry of Public Works with the Ministry of Agriculture forming an integral part. I mean, the Ministry of Rural Development forming an integral part of the Ministry of Public Works. And so we have a Deputy Minister for Rural Development at the Ministry of Public Works, and who is directly responsible for those activities that were being handled by the Ministry of Rural Development.
Okay, well, folks, we're going to leave it here. Martin Kollie, I'm receiving some sort of call here. I don't like to just break news until those news are verified, well, authentic. It's alarming. Hopefully not. I hope it is not true. So I'm not even going to dive into that until I confirm that. But this is a situation we're in. Martin Kollie, Pa George, I want to thank you so much for being part of today's program. Looking forward to having you guys here again at some point in time. But I hopefully
Thank you, Mr. Su.
Yeah, what I'm receiving.
Thank you for the great work.
Yeah, what I'm receiving from Liberia, I pray certainly that it is not true. So I don't even want to mention it. I don't want to say it until that is verified and well authenticated. Until then, folks, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. So. And
thank you, Mr. So. God bless you.
All right.
And Mr. Dan.
All right. So let me just go right back.
Thank you, Mr. Dan. Thank you, Mr. Josh.
Let me
Thanks
go
to
back.
everyone, the viewers. God bless Liberia. Goodbye.
All right. Let me go to this yet, and I see here and my interaction with Minister Nyimpant just when he was preaching the missions of the president of the Republic of Liberia.
So yes, you are correct.
Okay, you are engineer by profession, at the same time a lawyer here. So this puts you in a very kind of comfortable position in my own interpretation. I don't know what that's it, but I surmise that is the reason. Now, Honorable Minister, the task on hand, there is no country on planet Earth that can build its economic growth without good connectivities in terms of rural connection. If I get on top of my head, pretty close to 10 to 11,000 kilometers of roads should be connected in Liberia if we are to have a nation that can feed itself here. So let us look at the administrative part here. Public Works, what is the capacity of the Ministry of Public Works? The short term, the long term, go in terms of making sure these roads we are talking about, that even if they are built, they can be conditioned timely and they can be looked at the regular basis. Is the Ministry of Public Works currently in Liberia? Is it out of Monrovia to other counties now as well, first of all?
Well, thank you, Alfonso. I think this is the crux of the matter which our conversation will revolve around tonight. Firstly, let me give you some statistical information about the road network of Liberia. As we speak, Liberia has a total road network of approximately 11,000 kilometers. That is throughout the length and breadth of our country, and this will include feeder roads, secondary roads, primary roads, as well as urban roads. Now, with a network of 11,000 kilometers, Alfonso, you surprise you to know that only 5% of the roads in our network are paved.
Well, folks, our good team has come to an end. I want to thank you so much. That was my exclusive. We're going to be coming with the full text here. People that better knows him, who had the opportunity to work with the former Minister of Public Works, the late Mambutu Vlad Nyipa. He was a brother. He's a friend. He did a lot to me. I cannot distance myself. I see myself as a family person. He was my mentor. We disagreed on a lot of issues, but he respected my view. He once served as a deputy managing director at the Liberia Lpr-Tv, Liberia Petroleum and Refining Company, a former deputy managing director for technical services at Water and Sewer, former sitting senator of Sando County. Well, may his soul rest in peace, and we hope other year. I want to thank you so much for today's program. Until then, Walter, I want to thank you so much for being part of today's talking point. I'm Alfonso Zienso of the Liberia Popular Radio and Lpr-Tv. To all of you, our followers, your tweet, your comments. Hallelujah! And I can say it's your own views, your opinions. It's not in any way to represent the management and staff of the Liberia Popular Radio, but we do provide and facilitate these hardcore discussions. Hallelujah! Giving the highest praise. Hallelujah, yeah. Give me the highest praise. In the morning when I wake up, in the night when I wake up, I will lift up my voice to heaven and give you the highest praise. We'll continue to give the higher praise in good and bad times, and all we are doing here is to keep the conversations of our country in an honest fashion. Our microphone is open to anyone, ordinary Liberian. This is why we are not so selective who to bring. We have extended invitation to everybody. Until then, folks, have a pleasant day and stay safe. If you have not voted yet, if you are qualified to vote, go and vote. Make your voice to be heard. Hallelujah.